Chapter 31:16. Longao used all of his powers to forcefully open up an opening in the surrounding tornadoes. "Boss, what are you doing?" Xiaohei seemed to have guessed something as his face changed. However, before Xiaohei could react, he was already forcefully sent out by Longao. Courting death. Zhu Ying sensed that Di Tian's essence spirit had suddenly disappeared and his face changed as well. As one of the 10 chaos god beasts, Zhu Ying knew clearly what it meant to devour Di Tian's essence spirit. He had not expected that Longao and Di Tian's essence spirits would enter this place. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. However, he had not expected that Di Tian's essence spirit would be able to leave under such circumstances. He was indignant. However, so what if he was indignant? Since Di Tian had left, it was pretty decent for him to be able to trap Longao. This was not the way to go on. What should he do? Longao's face was getting grimmer and grimmer as he used all of his strength to defend against the attacks of the surrounding tornadoes. All of a sudden, a thought flashed through Longao's mind. The painting of the gods. Ever since he had obtained the painting of the gods, Longao had always wanted to cultivate it for real. However, even after dozens of years, he still had not succeeded. Since things had already come to this, Longao had no other choice. In a moment of desperation, he took out the painting of the gods immediately. The painting of the gods was an extremely formidable legendary weapon by itself. Even if he was at his peak, he would still be wary of the painting of the gods, let alone the current him. However, the painting of the gods right now was incomplete. This was also the reason why Longao could not cultivate it for real. The painting of the gods opened up immediately. Painting of the gods. Zhu Ying looked at the opened painting of the gods and his face changed. Of course, he knew what the painting of the gods meant. If he were to say that he was not wary, he would definitely be lying. However, Zhu Ying soon realized that something was wrong. The painting of the gods that Longao had opened up was an incomplete legendary weapon. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. He laughed out maniacally. Longao, are you joking with me? To think that you can go against my essence blood realm with just a damaged legendary weapon? Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Longao didn't say anything. For some reason, he had a feeling that even if the painting of the gods was incomplete, it would still be able to deal with Zhu Ying. Just now, Longao had sensed that ever since he entered the blood essence space, the scroll of the gods in his body had begun to stir. Perhaps the scroll of the gods could really suppress Zhu Ying. Just as Zhu Ying was laughing crazily, the situation suddenly changed. The scroll of the gods actually began to release a terrifying power. Not only did it begin to suppress the blood essence space, it even began to devour it forcefully. Ah! He was completely stunned. Even if Zhu Ying was beaten to death, he would never have thought that Longao's incomplete immortal treasure could really devour his essence blood space. He was very wary of the scroll of the gods. Longao, we can sit down and talk. Feeling his blood essence space being forcefully devoured by the scroll of the gods, Zhu Ying was in a complete mess. If this continued, he would be in big trouble. He was pleasantly surprised. Of course, Longao wouldn't give up this opportunity so easily. He immediately began to devour the surrounding blood essence. That's right. Other than the scroll of the gods that had started to devour the blood essence space, even Longao had started to devour. His body constitution was the chaotic sacred body. Although it would be very beneficial for him in the future, if he wanted to break through continuously, he would need a huge amount of energy. It was so huge that it was hard to accept. If he wanted to break through to the Emperor God realm, who knew how much energy he would need? But now, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Longao didn't care anymore. Even if he would be devoured by the blood when the time came, it wouldn't be able to stop him from devouring. After all, the power of Zhu Ying's blood was there and it was the best opportunity for him to break through. Zhu Ying was completely furious. He didn't expect Longao to take advantage of the situation and devour his blood essence. This was blood essence, not blood. When his primordial spirit awakened in the future, if he wanted to quickly recover his peak strength, it would be inseparable from the blood essence space. Zhu Ying didn't dare to move recklessly. He had been locked down by the scroll of the gods. If he was at his peak or had his primordial spirit awakened, he wouldn't be afraid of a damaged scroll of the gods. But the situation now was different. Given his current situation, it was possible that he would be devoured by the scroll of the gods. Hence, Zhu Ying didn't dare to take the risk. He could only watch as Longao devoured his blood essence. Longao didn't care about anything else. He just wanted to devour as much as he could. Just like that. The scroll of the gods and Longao seemed to be competing. The faster one devoured, the faster the other devoured. As the scroll of the gods devoured the blood essence crazily, it started to recover slowly. Under such circumstances, it was very likely that the scroll of the gods would return to its peak state. Longao was just giving it a try. He never thought that the scroll of the gods could really suppress Zhu Ying and allow him to devour the blood essence without restraint. This was Zhu Ying's blood essence. It was obvious what it meant. Longao didn't know how much energy he would need to break through to the primary Emperor God Realm from peak Ultimate God Realm under normal circumstances. However, it had only been a few minutes since he started to devour Longao's blood essence. Longao could already feel his realm starting to loosen up. He was delighted. He also didn't expect his realm to loosen up after just a few minutes of devouring. He didn't dare to hesitate and immediately increased his devouring power, hoping to break through to the Emperor God Realm in the shortest time possible. Ultimate gods and Emperor gods couldn't be compared at all. The current Longao could only kill a primary Emperor god at most. It would be difficult for him to deal with a middle Emperor god. However, if he broke through to the Emperor God Realm, it would be a different concept. He would be able to move unhindered among the Emperor gods. In other words, once he broke through to the Emperor God Realm, he would be the strongest existence below the God Ancestor realm. That was right. Longao didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest. His devouring speed soared. Sensing that the blood essence in the blood essence space was constantly decreasing, Zhu Ying's face became increasingly gloomy. However, as the scroll of the gods continued to devour, the scroll of the gods also began to recover. Zhu Ying did not dare to move because he did not have full confidence that he would be killed by the scroll of the gods if he moved. He didn't dare to take the risk. After all, if there was a slight mistake, he would be doomed eternally. Zhu Ying was extremely regretful. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have dealt with Longao. He had lost his blood essence space for no reason. Even if he could awaken his primordial spirit in the future, it would be impossible for him to return to his peak. Chapter 31:17. After swallowing for more than 10 minutes, Longao's cultivation finally broke through peak Ultimate God and became an Emperor God. Longao would definitely choose to give up if it was any other time. But now, it would be stupid to give up just like that. He continued to swallow crazily. The blood essence space contained the entire Zhu Ying's bloodline. Longao and the scroll of the gods had swallowed less than 1/5 of the blood essence space. What did that mean? Longao was looking forward to what realm he would break through if he kept swallowing. 1 hour. 2 hours. 4 hours later. The blood essence in the entire blood essence space was completely devoured by Longao and the scroll of the gods. Not a single drop was left. The Zhu Ying was completely confused. It thought it could swallow Longao and Di Tian's primordial spirit, but it did not expect to go for wool and come home shorn. Not only did it not succeed in swallowing the two, but its own blood essence space was also swallowed. It was completely dumbfounded. Not bad. Not only did my cultivation break through to peak Ultimate God, but the scroll of the gods has also recovered to its peak. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha, Longao was really excited and surprised. He did not expect that to be the result. If he cultivated under normal circumstances, it would take at least a few hundred years to break through to peak Ultimate God from peak Ultimate God. That was under the premise of having a huge amount of support. But now, in less than 2 hours, his cultivation had successfully broken through from peak Ultimate God to peak Ultimate God. What did that mean? How could he not be excited? How could he not be excited? Longao, you're so cruel. The Zhu Ying's face was filled with anger as it stared at Longao in front of it. Its 9 heads merged into one and transformed into an extremely coquettish man. The 10 divine beasts of chaos could transform into humans, but many divine beasts were unwilling to do so. In their eyes, humans were the most insignificant existence while they were superior. How could they transform into humans? The Ju-Ying was different. I've already given you a chance. You're the one who insisted. You can't blame anyone else. Ju-Ying was already extremely regretful, but what was the use of regret? Longao had the scroll of the gods in his hands. Not to mention keeping him here, it was unknown whether he could even survive. He suppressed the anger in his heart. You've already devoured my blood essence space. Shouldn't you leave now? Ju-Ying couldn't wait for Longao to leave immediately. As for revenge, he didn't even think about it anymore. Where there's life, there's hope. Would Longao leave? Although the blood essence space had been devoured, Ju-Ying was still in Kang Lin's body and could be reborn at any time. Before Longao could speak, Ju-Ying seemed to have guessed what Longao was thinking. He could no longer suppress the anger in his heart. However, in the end, he said coldly, I will find a new substitute. You can leave now. I will leave shortly. Seeing that Longao was still unwilling to leave, Ju-Ying was completely anxious. What do you want? Do you think I will let you off so easily? In the past, if Ju-Ying wanted to leave, Longao would have been more than happy to oblige. However, now that things had turned out this way, how could he let Ju-Ying off so easily? It was a complete joke. Longao, you have to know that if I choose to self-destruct my primordial spirit, even if you can't leave, you wouldn't want both of us to suffer. Ju-Ying was full of confidence. Unless Longao was crazy, he wouldn't fall out with him. Longao sneered and said with a smile, Ju-Ying, I will give you 2 choices now. The first choice is for you to die completely. You won't even have the chance to be reincarnated. Without even thinking, Ju-Ying definitely wouldn't agree. Die completely? The second choice is for you to submit to me. From today onwards, you will follow me. In your dreams. Ju-Ying was furious to the extreme. No matter which one of the 2 conditions that Longao put forward, they were both extremely excessive. How could he agree to them? Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Ju-Ying laughed maniacally. He thought that Longao was crazy to say such things to him. He was one of the 10 great chaotic mythical beasts. Even if his primordial spirit had not awakened, he wasn't someone to be trampled on. However, before Ju-Ying could say anything, Longao had already made his move. He had to end the battle quickly. Under such circumstances, the delay was disadvantageous to him and Sister Lin. Only by getting rid of Ju-Ying as soon as possible could they completely eliminate all future troubles. With the scroll of the gods, Longao wasn't worried at all. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to subdue Ju-Ying. Ju-Ying could be said to be at his weakest now. To him, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The 10 great chaotic mythical beasts were all heaven-defying existences. Longao was very clear about Ju-Ying's strength when he was at his peak. Even Blackie wasn't a match for Ju-Ying back then. One could imagine how terrifying Ju-Ying's strength was. Longao, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Ju-Ying realized that Longao was serious. In his anger, he didn't hesitate. Once he chose to die completely and self-destruct his primordial spirit, there was no doubt that even Longao wouldn't be able to withstand it. However, Longao wasn't worried at all. He had already thought of a way to deal with Ju-Ying. Otherwise, he wouldn't have forced Ju-Ying. After all, Ju-Ying's choice to self-destruct his primordial spirit was no small matter. In an instant, Ju-Ying was sucked into the scroll of the gods. Longao didn't dare to stay in Sister Lin's body any longer. This was because he didn't know if the scroll of the gods could really trap Ju-Ying. It was better to be safe than sorry. If it couldn't trap Ju-Ying, the first unlucky one would be him, and the second unlucky one would be Sister Lin. Blackie was very worried. However, without boss help, his primordial spirit couldn't enter Sister Lin's body at all. He could only stay here and worry, but couldn't do anything. You don't have to worry. I believe in Longao. F***ck, he's not your boss. Of course you don't have to worry. He's my boss. We're all trying to save your daughter. If anything happens to Boss, I'll swallow all of you. Blackie didn't care about anything. He only had Boss in his heart. No matter who it was, if anything happened to Boss, he would definitely swallow them. Even Kang Lin couldn't do that. Kang Hao shrugged his shoulders helplessly. He knew very well that Longao was doing this for his daughter. Otherwise, there was no need for him to take such a risk. After all, the opponent was one of the 10 great mythical beasts, the mythical beast Zhu Ying. Chapter 31:18. Xiao Hei was getting more and more anxious. Boss hadn't come out yet. If anything happened to him, not only Xiao Hei, but even Kang Hao was worried. He didn't want anything to happen to Longao. At this moment, Longao's primordial spirit suddenly left and walked out of the chaotic Dantian. Boss, it's good that you're fine. Xiao Hei heaved a sigh of relief when he saw his boss appear. He was curious as to why Boss was fine. Did Zhu Ying choose to give up? It seemed a bit ridiculous. Before Xiao Hei could ask, Longao said impatiently, Sister Lin is fine. I'm going to kill Zhu Ying now. As soon as he finished speaking, Longao's body disappeared and entered the chaotic Dantian. Kang Hao didn't know what Longao meant, but Xiao Hei did. Although he didn't know how Boss did it, he could guess that Boss had temporarily controlled Zhu Ying but hadn't completely killed him. It was still unknown whether he could succeed. Of course, Blackie wanted to enter the chaotic Dantian. However, he was unable to do so by himself. Unless he had Boss's help. In the chaotic Dantian, Longao looked at Zhu Ying's primordial spirit in the scroll of the gods and said coldly, Zhu Ying, I'll give you a chance. As long as you choose to submit to me, I can let you go and help you prove your Tao in the future. How about that? Proving one's Tao was something that chaotic reincarnation warriors and divine beasts dreamed of doing. However, proving one's Tao was easier said than done. Even Zhu Ying wanted to prove his Tao. However, would he choose to believe Longao? The answer was definitely no. From Zhu Ying's point of view, if Longao could help him prove his Tao, he would have already done so. Why would he enter reincarnation and not be able to control life and death? He was just fooling him to make him submit. Endless anger. Endless murderous intent. Until now, Zhu Ying still hadn't reacted. Longao, don't think that you can make me submit with the help of the scroll of the gods. I can tell you clearly that even if I die, I won't submit. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, he laughed crazily. As one of the 10 great divine beasts, the 9-headed neonate's arrogance was obvious. How could it choose to submit so casually? He was not surprised at all. If Zhu Ying could be subdued so easily, it wouldn't be Zhu Ying. He was both excited and helpless. Zhu Ying, you should know that the current painting of the gods can completely destroy your primordial spirit. At that time, you won't even have the chance to reincarnate. On this point, Longao had full confidence. The scroll of the gods was a heaven-defying divine artifact. If not for the painting of the gods, he might not even be able to leave the blood essence space alive, let alone trap Zhu Ying. Now that things had come to this, there were only 2 paths in front of him. The first path was to continue subduing the Zhu Ying. Although there were too many uncertainties, if he succeeded, he would have subdued another Zhu Ying, one of the 10 great divine beasts. It was obvious what that meant. The second option was to abandon Zhu Ying and use the scroll of the gods to destroy Zhu Ying's primordial spirit. Last chance. Opportunity, my ass. Get out of my way. So what if you can trap me? Do you think you can destroy me completely? Zhu Ying did not believe that Jian Wushuang could destroy him completely. It was simply a joke. As one of the 10 great divine beasts of chaos, he was an existence that stood at the pinnacle of the divine beasts. With regards to what Zhu Ying was thinking, how could Longao not know? He sneered. With a heavy snort, Longao released the heavenly flame from the scroll of the gods. Currently, Longao had a total of 3 heavenly flames. They were the flame of chaos that was ranked 1st, the flame of hell that was ranked 3rd, and the heart-burning lotus that was ranked 7th. If he wanted to destroy the scroll of the gods, he could just use the scroll of the gods. However, Longao was not willing to give up until the last moment. After all, he still wanted to subdue Zhu Ying. The heart-burning lotus immediately entered the scroll of the gods. Zhu Ying, who was still arrogant and thought that Longao could not destroy him, suddenly felt an extremely strong aura descending. Heavenly flame? This is heavenly flame. You actually have a heavenly flame? Sensing the sudden appearance of heavenly flames, Zhu Ying was completely stunned. This was because even if he was beaten to death, he would never have thought that Longao would actually have a heavenly flame. In the chaotic realm, there were a total of 23 heavenly flames. However, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to obtain a heavenly flame. Before Zhu Ying could react, another heavenly flame had already descended slowly. It was the flame of chaos that was ranked first. As for the flame of chaos, he had already obtained it previously. However, he had never truly mastered it. Longao had already guessed that if he wanted to completely merge with the flame of chaos, he would have to succeed in proving his Tao. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible. 2 heavenly flames? Sensing the other heavenly flame, Zhu Ying was completely stunned. He had never expected that Jian Wushuang would not only have 1 heavenly flame, but also 2 heavenly flames. What kind of concept was this? If he had not experienced it personally, he would not have believed that this was real even if he was beaten to death. Zhu Ying was helpless. Of course, he knew that the heavenly flame could completely destroy him. He immediately roared in fear. However, Longao did not even look at him. He only had one goal, which was to completely destroy Zhu Ying and then forcefully subdue him. For a chaotic divine beast like Zhu Ying, only if you were more ruthless and stronger than him, would he be afraid of you and even submit to you. It was precisely because of this that Longao wanted to use the 2 heavenly flames to forcefully subdue Zhu Ying. If Zhu Ying was unwilling, he would beat him until he was willing. Primordial spirits were most afraid of heavenly flames. Zhu Ying was no exception. He screamed in fear and did not even last for 3 minutes before he chose to submit. Longao, even if I submit to you, don't think that I will help you fight against your enemy. If you force me, I will not agree even if my primordial spirit self-destructs. Sure. Longao's heart was almost overjoyed to the extreme. What did the Zhu Ying represent? Thinking about it, as one of the 10 great mythological beasts, once the Zhu Ying recovered its peak strength in the future, it would be of great help to him. However, Longao knew that this matter could not be rushed. Otherwise, not only would Zhu Ying not be able to help him, he might even be a burden to him. Zhu Ying, I have already said that if I can successfully prove my Tao 10,000 years later, I will definitely help you prove your Tao. As for whether you believe me or not, I will do my best to help you awaken your primordial spirit. Zhu Ying snorted coldly and did not continue speaking. Instead, he stayed in the scroll of the gods and started to cultivate. As for Longao helping him awaken his primordial spirit, he believed that Longao would not help him prove his Tao. Chapter 31:19. Tao Attainment. The Peak Chaotic Realm. Countless chaotic martial artists dreamed of attaining Tao attainment. Only by attaining Tao attainment could one be truly immortal and above the chaotic realm. However, attaining Tao attainment was too difficult. For countless years, less than a dozen people in the chaotic realm had attained Tao attainment. Especially in recent years, no one had succeeded in attaining Tao attainment. Longao was a genius. When Longao created the 9-revolution chaos technique, everyone in the chaotic realm thought that he was the most likely person to attain Tao attainment. However, what happened in the end? Even Longao had failed. He had no choice but to enter the cycle of reincarnation. He had almost died. Longao did not say much. It was better to do something than to talk about it. Seeing his boss appear safely, Xiao He heaved a sigh of relief and asked impatiently, "Boss, how did it go?" "It's settled." "Where's Sister Lin?" "Sister Lin went to rest." "I'll find you later." Longao nodded. He did not hide anything from Xiao He and told him about how he subdued Zhu Ying. Xiao He was very excited. "Boss, if you help Zhu Ying attain Tao attainment in the future, he can leave you." Longao knew what Xiao He meant. Longao smiled and did not say anything. Kang Lin came several times. No matter what she asked, Longao always said that the matter was settled. No matter how Kang Lin asked, She could not get anything out of him. However, Kang Lin was not a fool. Brother Long must have risked his life to help her solve the matter of Ju Ying's blood. She was very touched. The internal strife in the Domain Masters Alliance was getting worse. Kang Hao and Shi Shi were evenly matched. Both of them were wary and neither of them was willing to take the initiative to attack. They were in a stalemate. Both of them knew very well that it was not a good idea to continue this stalemate. However, it was easier said than done to end the battle quickly. Longao wanted to stay and help. However, according to Kang Hao, Shi Shi's backer was not simple. Unless it was a last resort, he was not willing to help. Sister Lin's matter was settled and she did not need his help. Hence, there was no point in staying. Now that he had successfully broken through the peak Emperor God level, he was only one step away from becoming a God Ancestor. Once he reached the peak of the God Ancestor realm, he would be in the real chaotic realm. It was still unknown whether he could achieve that in 10,000 years. Longao kept telling himself that he had to reach the primal chaos realm in 10,000 years, whether it was for himself or for his family. Succeed or die trying. Boss, where are we going now? Tao Enlightenment. Huh. Blackie was shocked to hear that his boss wanted to comprehend the Tao. Of course, he knew what comprehending the Tao meant. Boss, you haven't broken through to God Ancestor yet. How can you comprehend the Tao? In order to reach the primal chaos realm, one had to comprehend the Tao. There were countless Taos in the chaos. As long as you could comprehend one of them, you would be able to advance to the chaos realm successfully. However, to comprehend the great Tao, one had to break through the God Ancestor realm first. This was a well-known fact. Longao smiled and said, "Let's break through to the God Ancestor realm and comprehend the Tao at the same time." It was easy to think about, but difficult to actually do. Blackie did not say much. Of course, he hoped that his boss could comprehend the Tao as soon as possible because only then could he recover to the primal chaos realm in 10,000 years. I'm going to stay in the first heavenly region. Blackie was curious as he did not know what his boss meant. To break through to the God Ancestor realm from the peak Emperor God level, one would need a lot of energy. The chaotic sacred body had its advantages and disadvantages. It might not be a good thing for cultivation. Although the chaotic sacred body did not have any bottleneck, it required a lot of energy. The energy needed to break through to the God Ancestor realm from the Emperor God level was immeasurable. However, one had to know. Previously, he had only broken through to the peak Emperor God level from the peak Hierarch realm after devouring the Essence Blood in the Essence Blood space. It was very bitter. Shi Shi already knew that Longao had entered the first heavenly region. If it was before, he might have taken action secretly. However, as he had fallen out with Longao, Shi Shi no longer had to hide it. He had to deal with Longao openly. However, Shi Shi was not a fool. Even if he wanted to deal with Longao, he had to find a reasonable reason. Otherwise, he would not be able to convince the public, especially at this time. Shi Shi's reason was simple. Longao had killed Yi Detian in public, which was a provocation to the Domain Lords Alliance. Even the elders who supported Longao agreed with Shi Shi. Longao had provoked the Domain Lords Alliance again and again. If the Domain Lords Alliance did not take any action, it would be a great loss of face for the Domain Lords Alliance. However, Kang Hao had stood out to denounce Shi Shi. His meaning was clear: Yi Detian deserved to die, and it had nothing to do with Shi Shi. However, the majority of the Domain Lords Alliance had chosen to support Shi Shi. Even Kang Hao was powerless. Longao did not care about Shi Shi and the Domain Lords Alliance's pursuit at all. Now that he had broken through to the peak God Emperor realm, he could even deal with a beginner God Ancestor. Longao did not care about Shi Shi. He was thinking of various ways to devour a huge amount of energy. He had to break through to the God Ancestor realm from the peak God Emperor realm in the shortest time possible. Only then could he truly comprehend the Tao. Comprehending the Tao was imminent. 10,000 years was just a matter of minutes for a chaotic martial artist. Longao knew very well what it meant if he failed to validate his Tao this time. Therefore, he had to succeed in validating his Tao. He only had 10,000 years. Boss, Devouring the energy of the divine beasts alone is not enough to help you break through to the god ancestor realm. We have to think of other ways. The divine beasts in the chaotic mountain range were far from enough. However, looking at the chaotic world, it seemed that there was not enough energy for him to devour and break through to the god ancestor realm. If he had known this would happen, he would have let the scroll of the gods devour less and let him devour more. In that case, he might have already become a god ancestor realm warrior. However, it was too late for regrets. Previously, in order to completely restore the scroll of the gods, Longao had not devoured any more blood essence after breaking through to the peak god emperor realm. Now that he thought about it, he had made a wrong choice. In order to successfully kill Longao, Shusha had not only sent out god emperors, but also 3 god ancestors. They were all high-level god ancestors. Such a force was already the backbone of Shusha's force. It was imaginable how much Shusha wanted to kill Longao. The biggest reason for him to deal with Longao this time was that Longao had stolen his scroll of the gods. This was something that Shusha could not accept. Chapter 3120. The Divine Restriction. It was one of the forbidden lands of chaos. Longao had entered it more than once. Decades ago, he entered the Divine Restriction to save Shuang. Thinking of Shuang, Longao felt a deep sense of helplessness. He didn't know if Shuang had recovered her memory. However, Longao knew very well that if Shuang had recovered her memory, she would definitely come to him. If Shuang didn't come, it meant that she hadn't recovered her memory. Boss, although there's enough power in the Divine Restriction, it's too dangerous. If we do this, we'll lose more than we gain. Won't we go for wool and come home shorn? How could Longao not know what Xiao Hei meant? After a deep sigh, Longao said helplessly, "We don't have much time left. I didn't expect that I would condense the chaotic sacred body in this reincarnation. It's a great hindrance to our cultivation speed. Until this moment, Longao didn't expect that he could condense the chaotic sacred body in this reincarnation. Was it because of the 9 revolution chaos technique? It seemed a little unlikely. Boss, be careful. Don't worry. It's normal that I didn't reach the Tao realm back then. This time, even if the great Tao of chaos stops me, I'll still reach the Tao realm. Whoever dares to stop me will be killed." Xiao Hei smiled. He liked Xiao Hei's character the most. He was fearless. As one of the forbidden lands of chaos, the Divine Restriction was full of danger. Even Longao and Xiao Hei didn't dare to be careless, because in this case, the slightest mistake would cause them to be doomed eternally. "Boss, look. What's that?" Looking in the direction Xiao Hei was pointing, Longao saw a cow in the distance. It was a strange cow that was sleeping. Strictly speaking, this was an extremely strange-looking bull. Its entire body was black and yellow, especially the horns on its head. They looked like sausages, and people couldn't help but laugh when they saw them. What kind of divine beast is this? Longao couldn't sense its aura at all and thought that it had died. However, Xiao Hei's face was very serious and he was more worried. "Blackie, what's wrong?" Looking at the expression on Little Black's face, Longao was very curious. He didn't know what was going on with Little Black. Could it be that this strange cow had some sort of origin? Xiao Hei's expression became more and more serious, as if there was something unbelievable. "Boss, have you heard of Chonyo?" "Chonyo?" Longao did not react for a moment. However, he suddenly thought of something and his expression changed. Of course, he knew what Xiao Hei meant by Chonyo. Chonyo, one of the 10 chaotic gods. According to the legends, Chonyo was born with great strength and could even shake any space. It was also the most mysterious chaos divine beast among the 10 chaos divine beasts. Even Longao had never seen Chonyo. However, he did not doubt it at all because Little Black was one of the chaos divine beasts. He could definitely sense Chonyo's aura. "Boss, be careful. This Chonyo should have entered the reincarnation cycle as well. However, he has already awakened his primordial spirit. He is not someone that Zhu Ying can compare with." He was also shocked. Longao of course knew what it meant for Chonyo to have awakened his primordial spirit. Even with the help of Xiao Hei, they were not Chonyo's match. Let's retreat first. They did not want to take the risk. As long as Chou Nyo did not take the initiative to attack the two of them, it would be a blessing in disguise. Xiao Hei did not dare to get close to Chou Nyo. Among the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts, Chou Nyo was the most mysterious. Xiao Hei did not know Chou Nyo's power. At this moment, there was no need to take the risk. The man and the beast retreated carefully. Just as Longao was about to turn and leave, Chou Nyo suddenly stopped. He stared at Chou Nyo, who was far away. There was no seriousness on his face. Instead, he was pleasantly surprised. "Boss, what's wrong?" Xiao Hei was very curious. He did not know what was wrong with his boss. Why did he suddenly stop? He did not even need to think about it to deal with Chou Nyo. Previously, the reason why his boss could subdue Ju Ying was because of the Scroll of the Gods. The Essence Blood Space happened to be locked by the Scroll of the Gods. The Scroll of the Gods might not be able to deal with Chou Nyo. Under normal circumstances, his boss would not take the risk, especially at this moment. There was no hatred between the two of them and Chou Nyo. Xiao Hei, how could Chou Nyo appear in the God-forbidden area for no reason? This is impossible. Boss, do you know the reason? Xiao He was also very curious. The God-forbidden area was one of the chaotic forbidden areas. If not for boss's body constitution, which required him to devour a large amount of energy, the two of them would not take the risk to enter the God-forbidden area. Chou Nyo was not stupid. Why would he enter the God-forbidden area for no reason? Could there be something fishy? Longao smiled and said, "I did not expect our luck to be so good. The thing that we have been looking for so many years, we actually found it at this moment." What did his boss mean? Xiao Hei was confused. He did not know what his boss was talking about. What could the thing that they had been looking for so many years be? All of a sudden, Xiao Hei seemed to have thought of something and his face was filled with shock. He almost exclaimed and said softly, "Boss, you mean that Chou Nyo is doing this for the Chaos Tree?" The Chaos Tree was the #1 treasure in the entire chaotic world. It was a treasure that every chaotic martial artist dreamed of. Back then, Longao and Xiao Hei had also been searching for the Chaos Tree everywhere. However, after countless years, they still could not find it. According to legends, if one could obtain the Chaos Tree, then one could successfully prove one's Tao. Longao and Xiao Hei did not expect to find the Chaos Tree in this place. Their luck was just too good. "Boss, we have to grasp this opportunity. If we miss it, it will not be so easy to find the Chaos Tree in the future." Nodding his head, Longao knew what the Chaos Tree meant. Not to mention obtaining it, even finding it was unknown. However, the two of them looked serious. Chou Nyo was sleeping on the streets. It was obvious that he was guarding the Chaos Tree. It was too difficult for them to get the Chaos Tree. "Boss, I am very curious. Why doesn't the Chaos Tree leave? Since Chou Nyo has already found the Chaos Tree, why doesn't he take it away?" Even Longao was curious, let alone Xiao Hei. Under normal circumstances, since Chou Nyo had already found the Chaos Tree, he should have taken it away immediately. After all, no one knew what would happen if he stayed there. Not to mention the current Chou Nyo, even at his peak, Chou Nyo would not be able to stop others from taking the Chaos Tree. Longao was almost certain that once others knew about this, there would be countless people entering the God-forbidden area to take the Chaos Tree. Chapter 31-21. He couldn't figure it out. What was going on with Chou Nyo? Longao, who was about to leave, suddenly noticed the Chaos Tree and decided to stay. No matter what, he had to get the Chaos Tree. Longao was sure that if he could get the Chaos Tree, he would be able to prove his Tao 10,000 years later. With the Chaos Tree and chaotic holy body, as well as the 9 Revolution Chaos Mantra, he would definitely succeed. He was confident. "Boss, what should we do now?" "Xiao Hei, lure Chou Nyo away. I will get the Chaos Tree." He didn't stand on ceremony with Xiao Hei. Even against Chou Nyo, as long as he and Xiao Hei were willing, Xiao Hei could enter the Chaos Dantian instantly. Xiao Hei nodded and agreed without hesitation. "Boss, be careful. You be careful too." He took a deep breath. In the next second, Xiao Hei's figure had already dashed out quickly. When it was about 3 meters away from Chonyo, who was still sleeping, suddenly opened its eyes. 2 beams of light shot out from its eyes. Di Tian. Chonyo, who had successfully awakened his primordial spirit, obviously recognized the divine beast that had just appeared. Chonyo and Xiao Hei didn't know each other before. They had only met once and didn't interact with each other. However, the 2 divine beasts knew each other very well. As one of the top 10 divine beasts, both of them were wary of each other. However, based on the current situation, Xiao Hei was obviously weaker than Chonyo. Not only did Chonyo successfully awaken his primordial spirit, but he had also reached the chaotic realm. If they fought head-on, they would only die. If he was swallowed by Chonyo, it would be a loss. Chonyo, I want to discuss something with you. How about that? Speak. If it was any other time, Chonyo would have attacked. After all, swallowing a divine beast meant a lot. But now, the situation was different. Chonyo didn't know what Di Tian meant. He was guarding the Chaos Tree and he couldn't let anything happen to it. Chaos Tree, the #1 treasure in the chaotic world. Not only was the Chaos Tree useful to warriors, but it was also useful to divine beasts. I want you to submit to me. How about that? What did you say? Chonyo's body suddenly emitted a terrifying aura. Even Di Tian, when he was at his peak, to say nothing. Had Di Tian gone mad? I'm going to devour you. Chonyo and Di Tian were both divine beasts that could devour. It was hard to say which of the linked divine beasts was stronger at their peak. If you don't choose to submit, then I will completely destroy you. Just as Chonyo was about to attack, he suddenly calmed down. For the Chaos Tree, he had to endure. If anything happened to the Chaos Tree, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Endure. Xiao Hei was also a little surprised. However, he definitely wouldn't give up so easily. Of course, he knew what the Chaos Tree meant to Boss. If Boss had the help of the primal Chaos Tree, his chances of successfully validating his Tao 10,000 years later would be even higher. Without any hesitation, Blackie immediately began to attack Chonyo. He endured it again and again. After being continuously attacked for tens of minutes, Chonyo finally could not hold it in any longer and chose to explode. Even if he left for a short while, nothing should happen. The God restriction was one of the forbidden lands in the Chaos world. Under normal circumstances, no one would enter it easily. If he could devour Di Tian's primordial spirit and obtain the Chaos Tree, that would be the best. In a situation where he couldn't take it anymore, Chonyo chased after Xiao Hei. Xiao Hei had already achieved his goal. Xiao Hei immediately turned and left. The 2 divine beasts, one in front and one behind, disappeared in the blink of an eye. After the 2 divine beasts disappeared, Longao's figure appeared. He stared at the Chaos Tree in front of him, but he didn't dare to casually move it. Chonyo was only guarding here, but he didn't dare to touch the Chaos Tree. If someone said that there wasn't something fishy, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. What was going on? He couldn't figure it out. Angry roars could be heard. After chasing for a few minutes, Chonyo realized that something was wrong. He immediately turned back and saw that someone was staring at the Chaos Tree. Chonyo didn't know Longao, but he could sense that he was an emperor god. Chonyo was even more furious. A small emperor god actually dared to touch his things. He must be tired of living. Chonyo wasn't a fool. He instantly guessed that this person was definitely in cahoots with Di Tian. He had purposely come to snatch the Chaos Tree. Otherwise, why would Di Tian provoke him out of nowhere? After all, they had always minded their own business. Blackie's figure instantly disappeared into his chaotic dantian. Then, he appeared beside Longao from his chaotic dantian. Looking at Chonyo rushing towards him, he said anxiously, "Boss, what should we do now?" Chonyo is coming. Once Chonyo arrived, he definitely wouldn't leave. It was almost impossible to get the Chaos Tree. Longao obviously knew the severity of the situation. He didn't care and directly grabbed at the Chaos Tree. No. Seeing that Lin Fan was grabbing at the Chaos Tree, Chonyo was completely shocked. He was so angry that his face contorted. If it was so easy, he would have taken the chaos tree long ago. The primal chaos tree possessed spirituality. As long as one was unable to obtain it after touching it, once the primal chaos tree left, one would not know when they would encounter it again. Because of this, Chonyo had been guarding this place. Before he was completely confident, he did not dare to casually take action. However, he never expected that he would end up benefiting someone else. As for whether Lin Fan could get the chaos tree, Chonyo didn't believe it. If it was so easy to get the chaos tree, it would have been taken long ago. Why wait until now? As expected. When Longao's hand touched the chaos tree emitted a strong light. The moment the chaos tree disappeared, Longao's chaos dantian suddenly exploded with an invincible force that covered the chaos tree. What was going on? Even Longao was a little dumbfounded. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know how powerful his chaos dantian was. From the beginning to the end, he didn't expect his chaos dantian to cover the chaos tree. If not for Chonyo's return, Longao wouldn't have touched the chaos tree so hastily. If the chaos tree were to escape this time, it would be unknown if he could meet it again in the future. He would probably need a huge opportunity. Although his chaos dantian had already covered the chaos tree, Longao didn't have any confidence that his chaos dantian could suppress the chaos tree. P.S. Something happened. Update late. Everyone, please forgive me. Chapter 31:22. Just as Longao was extremely worried. The chaos tree didn't even have time to run before it was enveloped by the light released by the chaos dantian. He was elated. It was too surprising. Even if Longao was beaten to death, he would never have thought that something that he could not do would suddenly appear in his chaotic dantian. Since he had successfully obtained the chaos tree, Longao obviously wouldn't leave. Just as Longao was about to bring Xiao Hei into the chaos dantian, the situation changed. Longao suddenly realized that he couldn't communicate with the chaos dantian at all. What was going on? He was completely confused. Such a thing rarely happened, especially after the chaos dantian fused with the chaos hall and formed the chaos dantian. Seeing that Chonyo was about to kill them, Longao and Xiao Hei didn't dare to stay any longer. They immediately rushed forward at their maximum speed. I'm going to swallow you. Chonyo didn't expect them to really obtain the chaos tree. If he had known, he wouldn't have left no matter what. He was filled with regret. However, it was too late to regret now. He could only choose to remedy it. The only way to remedy it was to swallow the two of them and obtain the chaos tree from them. Strictly speaking, Chonyo seemed to be happy because with his strength, it was impossible for him to obtain the chaos tree. It was obvious what the outcome would be. If he had full confidence, he wouldn't have stayed here for so many days without attacking. Since the other party had already obtained the chaos tree, as long as he killed the two of them, he would be able to obtain the chaos tree easily. Just thinking about it made him excited. Kill. However, what Chonyo didn't expect was that the other party and Di Tian were very fast. You want to leave? If he hadn't successfully awakened his primordial spirit and broken through to the chaotic realm a few years ago, he wouldn't have been able to catch up with them. But now, Longao and Xiao Hei obviously knew how serious the situation was. Once Chonyo caught up with them, they would definitely fight. By then, they wouldn't be Chonyo's match at all. There was no doubt about it. Boss, what should we do now? What should they do? They couldn't enter the Chaos Dantian and could only fight with Chonyo. Fight. Longao and Blackie suddenly stopped as they looked at Chonyo, who had already caught up. Longao said with a smile, Chonyo, it's impossible for you to take the Chaos Tree by yourself. Since I have already obtained it, the Chaos Tree is mine. What do you think? Bullshit. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone so shameless. He was the one who had found the Chaos Tree first and had guarded it for so long. Yet, these two shameless things had schemed to snatch the Chaos Tree away. How not to feel angry? Longao laughed and said, Chonyo, don't think you are invincible just because you are one of the 10 chaotic holy beasts. I will give you two choices. Either you leave or you submit to me. Submit to you? Ha 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 ha. Hearing what Di Tian said, Chonyo suddenly laughed out loud. It was as though he had heard the funniest thing in the world. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone as arrogant as Di Tian. Di Tian had the right to be arrogant, but Chonyo couldn't understand. Di Tian was just a small emperor god. He couldn't understand how Di Tian could be so arrogant. Just you? Yes, just me. Longao took out the god-punishing painting and opened it. Now, the god-punishing painting had been restored to its peak. However, it depended on who was using it. If Longao used the god-punishing painting at his peak, the power wouldn't be simple. However, the current Longao was different. Even so, Longao still forced himself to use the god-punishing painting. He wanted to see his luck. If he could block Chonyo, he and Blackie could leave immediately. Chonyo, who was originally full of confidence, was stunned when he saw the scroll open in front of him. He had a silly look on his face as though he had encountered something unbelievable. Chaos Holy Beast Painting. Chaos Holy Beast Painting. Hearing what Chonyo said, Longao was curious. This was because he didn't know when the god-punishing painting had become a Chaos Holy Beast painting. What was that? At this moment, Chonyo couldn't care less about dealing with Longao and Blackie. He also couldn't care less about snatching the Chaos Tree. He immediately turned and prepared to leave. Although he didn't know what was going on, Longao's intuition told him that it wasn't simple. Chonyo seemed to be afraid of the god-punishing painting. He should have been excited when Chonyo left. But now, Longao had changed his mind. If he could deal with Chonyo, it would be great for him whether he could subdue or devour Chonyo's primordial spirit. Longao controlled the God-Slayer painting and began to attack Chonyo forcefully. At this moment, Ju Ying, who was sealed in the God-Slayer painting, suddenly spoke. He seemed to be very anxious as he said, "Longao, I'll help you subdue Chonyo, but you have to promise me one thing." "Speak." Longao was pleasantly surprised. But he was more curious about why Ju Ying would help him. But under such circumstances, he naturally hoped that Ju Ying could help him subdue Chonyo. Chonyo was one of the 10 great divine beasts. He knew very well what it meant. If he could subdue Chonyo, it would be equivalent to subduing 2 chaos holy beasts. Just thinking about it made him excited. "I'll help you subdue Chonyo. When you reach Dao validation, you have to bring me along. Also, I want to cultivate beside the chaos tree. How about that?" So that was it. Longao finally knew why Ju Ying suddenly wanted to help him. It turned out that he had just obtained the Chaos Tree. As the #1 treasure of the Chaos Realm, even if he cultivated beside the Chaos Tree, there would be great benefits. Especially now that Ju Ying had lost the entire blood essence space, he needed it even more. To Longao, this matter was too simple. He did not even think about it and agreed, "No problem. What should I do?" "Longao, the god-punishing painting is not that simple. I can clearly feel that Chonyo is afraid of the god-punishing painting. So if you want to subdue Chonyo, you have to use the god-punishing painting. And Little Black and I will work together to subdue it." Longao understood what Ju Ying meant and started immediately. He knew that the God-Slayer painting was not as simple as he had imagined. Otherwise, Chonyo would not be so afraid of the God-Slayer painting. He would not believe that there was nothing fishy about it. He immediately activated the God-punishing painting and began to attack Chonyo. Chapter 31-23. From the beginning, Chonyo had never expected the other party to have the God-punishing painting. If he had known, he would not have chased after the two of them even if he was beaten to death. In his carelessness, Chonyo was instantly enveloped by the God-punishing painting. Looking at Ju Ying, Chonyo seemed to have guessed something and was shocked. Who was the other party? How could he seal Ju Ying? Ju Ying was one of the 10 chaotic divine beasts, just like him. "Ju Ying, you want to deal with me?" "Chonyo, Longao has already obtained the Chaos Tree and is the most promising warrior. If you choose to submit to him, you might be able to succeed in the future." Before Ju Ying could finish his sentence, Chonyo snorted. T. As a chaotic divine beast, you chose to submit to an emperor god. You are a disgrace to chaotic divine beasts. I admire you. He ignored Qiu Nyo's mockery. He sneered. With Di Tian and my help and the god-punishing painting, do you think you can leave this place successfully? Qiu Nyo's face turned gloomy. If it was any other divine weapon, he would not be afraid. Even if he was not even 1/10,000th of his peak, he was still not afraid. Only the god-punishing painting. Qiu Nyo was truly afraid of the god-punishing painting. Others might not know what the god-punishing painting meant, but he did. Fortunately, Qiu Nyo had not truly refined the god-punishing painting. Otherwise, he would have been screwed this time. If he was only an emperor god at his peak and refined the god-punishing painting, it would not be of any use to him. The bad thing was, now, he had just awakened his primordial spirit and reached the chaotic realm. He was very afraid of the god-punishing painting. He had to think of a way to leave the god-punishing painting as far as he could. As though he could guess what Qiu Nyo was thinking, Zhu Ying sneered and said, "Qiu Nyo, let me give you a piece of advice. You better know your place. Otherwise, you will be sent into samsara." No way. Without giving Zhu Ying a chance to speak, Qiu Nyo started to attack the god-punishing painting. "Boss, what should we do? In the past, the god-punishing painting was incomplete and it was difficult for me to refine it. But the situation now, I am confident that I can refine the god-punishing painting in 3 months." Qiu Nyo's intuition told him that the god-slaying painting wasn't that simple. He had seen Qiu Nyo's fear when he saw the god-slaying painting. If he wanted to unravel the secrets of the matter, he would have to assimilate the god-slaying painting. "I'll help you guard this place." "All right." Under such circumstances, Longao temporarily couldn't care about the chaos tree. He had to deal with Qiu Nyo first. Without the slightest hesitation, he sat on the ground. Longao immediately started refining the god-slaying painting. His primordial spirit completely enveloped the painting. Time flew. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Longao stood up abruptly and looked at the god-slaying painting in front of him. He was so excited that his body trembled. He had never imagined that the god-slaying painting would contain such a huge secret. If not for the fact that he had assimilated the god-slaying painting, he wouldn't have known about this secret at all. At this moment, Longao finally knew why Qiu Nyo was so terrified when he saw the God Punisher painting. It was because the God Punisher painting was the nemesis of all sacred beasts, even the 10 chaos sacred beasts. The so-called God-slaying painting wasn't called the God-slaying painting. It was just a name given by the later generations. The God-slaying painting was originally called the Chaos Sacred Beast painting. It was a chaotic divine weapon that was born at the beginning of chaos. It was extremely powerful and was the nemesis of all sacred beasts. It could seal all sacred beasts. Even if Qiu Nyo was at his peak, he wouldn't be able to resist the Chaos Sacred Beast painting. Longao knew very well that if Qiu Nyo was at his peak, he wouldn't be able to seal Qiu Nyo even if he had refined the Chaos Sacred Beast painting. He might even be devoured by Qiu Nyo. But now, the situation was completely different. Qiu Nyo had just awakened his primordial spirit and broke through to the chaotic realm. To him, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he didn't seal Qiu Nyo now, when would he be able to? After refining the Chaos Sacred Beast painting, Longao also received a secret. A secret regarding the Chaos Sacred Beast painting. If he could seal the 10 Chaos Sacred Beasts and use the power of the 10 Chaos Sacred Beasts to activate the Chaos Sacred Beast painting, he could even shake the Chaos Great Tao. One could imagine how powerful the Chaos Sacred Beast painting was. However, it was impossible to seal the 10 Chaos Sacred Beasts. Longao didn't expect that he could seal the 10 Chaos Sacred Beasts. Previously, he had sealed Zhu Ying. If he could seal Qiu Nyo now, it would be a blessing in disguise. Then, Qiu Nyo's figure appeared. Unless it was a last resort, Longao wasn't willing to deal with Qiu Nyo forcefully. No matter what, Qiu Nyo's strength was still there. "Qiu Nyo, I have already refined the Chaos Sacred Beast painting. I believe you should know better than me what the Chaos Sacred Beast painting means. I have also obtained the Chaos Tree. In the future, I will have no problem proving my Tao. As long as you follow me, I can guarantee you that in 10,000 years, when you prove the Chaos Great Tao, there will be a place for you. How about that? Do you think I will believe you? I, Chonyo, am one of the 10 Chaos Sacred Beasts. How can I submit to a puny human like you? Don't joke with me. So what if you have refined the Chaos Sacred Beast painting? If you were in the chaotic realm, I might be wary of you. However, with your current realm, let me give you a piece of advice. You better get lost. From the beginning to the end, Chonyo didn't mention anything about the Chaos Tree. This was because he knew that it was impossible to snatch the Chaos Sacred Beast painting by force. He only knew that the Chaos Sacred Beast painting was the nemesis of the Sacred Beasts. As for how strong the Chaos Sacred Beast painting was, he had never seen it with his own eyes. Without full confidence, even Chonyo wouldn't dare to casually make a move. It was better to leave this place first. If he could think of a way to deal with this person, it wouldn't be too late to take revenge. As though he could guess what Chonyo was thinking, Longao said, Chonyo, I can guarantee that even if you can restore the Chaos reincarnation, you won't be able to prove your Tao. There will only be one outcome. You will be killed by the Chaos Great Tao. You won't even have the chance to reincarnate. If you follow me, not only will you be able to prove your Tao, you will even be immortal. If you don't agree, with the help of Di Tian and Ju Ying, the chances of successfully sealing you are very high. Chonyo's face was gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get. He didn't dare to take the risk. No one knew if what Longao said was true. If the Chaos Sacred Beast painting was really that powerful, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret. However, he wouldn't be willing to submit to a human even if he was beaten to death. Chapter 31-24. Dream On. As one of the 10 chaotic divine beasts, how could he submit to a mere human? Even if the human had the Chaos Tree, he would not submit. Not to mention the others, even he himself would not be able to pass this round. Longao sneered. If so, don't blame me for being rude. I will use the Chaos Divine Beast picture to refine your primordial spirit. Before Chonyo could speak, Longao continued, I almost forgot that I can refine a soul slave. If your primordial spirit can be refined into a soul slave, it will be very helpful to me. No. Boss. Hearing that Longao wanted to refine Chonyo into a soul slave, Blackie and Ju Ying immediately shouted. Longao, it's a pity to refine Chonyo into a soul slave. Why not let me devour him? Boss, I want to devour him too. Both Blackie and Ju Ying wanted to devour Chonyo's primordial spirit. As one of the 10 chaotic divine beasts, Chonyo's primordial spirit was very powerful. If he could devour Chonyo's primordial spirit, it would mean a lot. Chonyo was furious. Blackie and Ju Ying did not care about him at all. They rushed towards Blackie and Ju Ying and Di Tian. They opened their mouths and were ready to devour Longao and Di Tian. Ju Ying and Blackie started to fight crazily. The 3 chaotic divine beasts fought fiercely. However, Chonyo won in the end. Both Di Tian and Ju Ying had not recovered to the chaotic realm. How could they be Chonyo's match? Longao looked on coldly and waited for an opportunity. He had to hit Chonyo with one strike. If he made a mistake, not only would he not be able to subdue Chonyo, he would also lose. The Chaos 6th Axe, Deity Punishment Nirvana. The Chaos 6th Axe, Deity Punishment Nirvana, was almost invincible among those of the same level. It could even kill beginner god ancestors easily. Longao had no confidence in fighting against those in the chaotic realm. If he was not careful, he would be devoured by Chonyo. He knew the consequences. Unless he had no choice, Longao did not want to use it. Besides using the Chaos 6th Axe, Longao was ready to use his primordial spirit. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang out. I'll devour you. Even if Chonyo was beaten to death, he would never have thought that a puny god emperor martial artist would actually take the initiative to attack him. Furthermore, it was a primordial spirit attack. What a lunatic. For a low-level martial artist to use their primordial spirit to attack a high-level divine beast was practically a matter of courting death. Most people wouldn't dare to do this. Only Longao was a lunatic. Anger, endless anger. Boundless anger turned into boundless murderous intent and swept out in a frenzy. No wonder it was a chaos divine beast. If it had been anyone else, they would have been severely injured even if they did not die after being hit by his primordial spirit and the Chaos Sixth Axe. On the other hand, Chonyo was only slightly injured. He was really strong. Seizing this rare opportunity, the two Chaos Divine Beasts continued to attack Chonyo. He roared angrily at the sky. Longao did not fight Chonyo head-on at all. He attacked occasionally, but Chonyo was already prepared. Even if Longao was not afraid of anything, he would not casually continue to attack with his primordial spirit. Both sides were in a deadlock. Just at this moment, Longao suddenly opened the Chaos Divine Beast picture and started to envelop Chonyo. Chonyo, who was already injured, was swept into the Chaos Divine Beast picture. Chonyo, I'll give you one last chance. Do you surrender? Chonyo, of course, knew the severity of the situation. He had just awakened his primordial spirit and had just broken through to the chaotic realm. Otherwise, even if the three of them joined forces, they would not be his match. I agree. In the end, Chonyo chose to compromise because he did not know if the other party could really refine him. Regardless of whether he was refined by the Chaos Divine Beast picture or devoured by the two Chaos Divine Beasts, it would not be a good thing for him. Primordial Spirit Sacrifice. Boss. Longao waved his hand. Of course, he knew what Xiaohei meant. However, he could not let Xiaohei and Zhu Ying devour Chonyo's primordial spirit. Not to mention whether they could really devour it, it would be a pity to just devour it. After all, Chonyo's identity and power were there. Moreover, the reason why Chonyo chose to compromise was because he was afraid of the Chaos Spiritual Beast diagram and not because of the three of them. If they were to fall out with each other and Chonyo chose to die together, the consequences would be unimaginable. He was unwilling to take the risk. Since things had already come to this, even if Chonyo was unwilling, he could only nod his head and say, I hope you can keep your promise. Longao, of course, knew what Chonyo meant. He smiled and nodded his head, saying, I, Longao, keep my promise. 10,000 years later, as long as I, Longao, can successfully attain Tao, there will be a place for you on the path of Tao attainment. Longao was pleasantly surprised to have successfully subdued Chonyo. First, he subdued Zhu Ying, then he subdued Chonyo. Throughout the countless years in the chaotic world, there was probably no one who could do this. Longao could be said to be unprecedented. Chonyo, Longao, and Di Tian. Now, Longao had three Chaos Divine Beasts by his side. Once the three Chaos Divine Beasts recovered their peak power, in the entire chaotic world, no one would be a match for Longao. Chonyo stared fiercely at Chonyo and Blackie. He snorted and said, Boss, since you have already refined the Chaos Beast diagram, you should know what it means. If you can gather the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts, the Chaos Beast diagram will be able to fight against the Tree of Chaos. Perhaps it will be the true number 1 divine weapon in the chaotic world. Blackie and Zhu Ying were completely shocked by Chonyo's words. The two Chaos Divine Beasts knew what Chonyo meant. However, to gather the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts was like a fool's dream. It was almost impossible. I can't do it. Longao, of course, wanted to gather the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts. In that case, the Chaos Beast diagram would be the number 1 divine weapon in the chaotic world. Who would be able to fight against him? Was it just a possibility? It was completely impossible. Not to mention the other Chaos Divine Beasts, even Judas, who was following Mo Wutian, could not be subdued. Chonyo nodded helplessly and said, I have only heard of it. No one has been able to open the Chaos Beast diagram. After all, it is too difficult to gather the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts. Longao was not a greedy person. If it were someone else, such as the clairvoyant, if he could gather 3 Chaos Divine Beasts, he would definitely want to gather the other 7. You two stay in the Chaos Beast diagram and cultivate. After I deal with the Tree of Chaos, you two can move. Chapter 31-25. He tried to enter the chaotic Dantian but he couldn't. What was going on? Longao knew that the reason why he couldn't enter the chaotic Dantian had something to do with the chaotic tree. He could only wait. Although he couldn't enter the chaotic Dantian without leaving the god prohibition, he could continue to search for power. He needed a huge amount of power to break through the God Ancestor realm from the Peak Emperor God realm. Chonyo, do you know where there is power in the God Prohibition? He thought for a while. Boss, the God Prohibition is one of the chaotic forbidden lands and it seems to have 9 sources of power. Tell me, what is going on? Chonyo knew everything. Not only did he know about the chaotic divine beast diagram, but he also knew that there were 9 sources of power in the God Prohibition. Before Longao could speak, Chonyo continued, Boss, although I don't know what you mean by chaotic sacred body, you can't devour the 9 sources of power. Why? Longao was curious. He didn't know what Chonyo meant. Boss, the reason why the God Prohibition can exist in the chaotic world is because of the 9 sources of power. If you devour the sources of power, having said that, Chonyo did not continue, but the meaning in his words was clear. Longao nodded and said, since that's the case, it seems like there's no point in continuing to stay in the divine forbidden zone. To be able to be used as the foundation of a divine restriction, one could easily imagine what the 9 great power sources meant. If he were to forcefully devour the 9 sources of power, not to mention devouring power to increase his strength, he might even end up worse off. He felt helpless. He didn't know whether it was good or bad to have the chaotic sacred body. The chaotic sacred body would definitely be beneficial to him in the future. There was no doubt about it. As for the chaotic sacred body, it needed a huge amount of power to support it. That was why he couldn't do anything about it. No one objected to their boss leaving the God Prohibition. He left the God Prohibition. Longao didn't know where to go. Because of the chaotic sacred body, he needed to devour a huge amount of power. Ordinary places couldn't help him. He didn't know what was going on with the chaotic dantian and the chaotic tree. 10 days later, Longao suddenly felt that he could connect with the chaotic dantian again. He was delighted. He didn't hesitate. He immediately brought Blackie, Chonyo, and Ju Ying into his chaotic dantian. Blackie had entered this place countless times and was very familiar with the place. As for Ju Ying and Chonyo, it was their first time entering the chaotic dantian. He was completely stunned. Human martial artists could actually possess a chaotic dantian. Was this true? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Looks like I made the right choice. Blackie rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, Boss has a lot of secrets. You won't regret following him. Longao didn't say anything as he quietly looked at the chaos tree in front of him. It had taken root. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't surprised. Longao knew very well what it meant for the chaos tree to take root in his chaos dantian. He never expected that not only would the chaos tree be forcefully sucked into his chaos dantian, but it would also take root. This meant that the chaos tree would truly belong to him in the future. Longao had the chaotic dantian, the chaotic tree, the 9 revolution chaos formula, and the chaotic sacred body. He had full confidence in his Tao validation 10,000 years later. But one had to know. Back then, he only had the chaos dantian and the 9 revolution chaos formula. He didn't have the chaos tree or the chaotic sacred body at all. This was something that he didn't have before. Longao, you promised me that you would let me stay beside the chaos tree to cultivate. Before Longao could speak, Blackie had already said, Ju Ying, even if boss is willing, you can't stay here. Why? Ju Ying immediately asked when he heard that he couldn't stay here to cultivate. It was a complete joke. It would be fine if it was the chaos tree, but he knew better than anyone what the chaos tree meant. If he could stay beside the chaos tree to cultivate, he would have a greater chance of achieving Tao validation in the future. Ordinary people can't step into the chaotic dantian that boss condensed. Even if they can, they can't last for a day at most, except for Sister Shuangshuang and me. So, before Blackie could finish speaking, Ju Ying had already looked at Longao and asked, then what should I do? Can I stay here to cultivate? Same as Blackie. No problem. Ju Ying and Chonyo didn't hesitate at all and immediately submitted to Longao. Since things had already come to this, to them, achieving Tao validation in the future was the most important thing. As for other things, they were just floating clouds. In the following time, Blackie, Ju Ying, and Qiu all stayed in the chaotic Dantian to cultivate. Longao also opened up 3 cultivation places, close to the chaos tree. In addition to the time ratio of the chaotic Dantian, cultivating here for 10 years was equivalent to 1 year in the outside world. Qiu and Zhu Ying were pleasantly surprised. They were glad that they didn't make the wrong choice. Although they didn't find the source of power to devour after entering the divine restriction this time, and their cultivation didn't increase, they obtained the chaos tree and even subdued Qiu. It was a pleasant surprise. Thunder Heavenly Region. In the Domain Master's manner, Ji Hao's face was filled with pain. He roared, "Shenyuan Bubai, you old bastard, how dare you trick me? I will definitely destroy you, destroy you." Gradually, Ji Hao's face regained its calmness. The madness just now also disappeared. The entire secret room was hidden. No one would discover or hear it. He was furious. If I am unable to recover from my injuries this time, not to mention continuing to break through, it is unknown whether I will be able to survive. Shenyuan Bubai, you are truly ruthless, truly ruthless. You lied to the world. What bullshit deceiving your master and destroying your ancestors. Everyone is spreading the news that I harmed you, but how many people know that you are a sinister old bastard? If it wasn't for you, I might have already succeeded. I hate it. When he thought about how Shenyuan Bubai had ruined his plans, Ji Hao was filled with endless anger. However, Shenyuan Bubai had already fallen, and whether his primordial spirit had reincarnated was still unknown. As for the burning heart fire lotus that Shenyuan Bubai possessed, its whereabouts were still unknown. If it wasn't for the after effects in his body, Ji Hao would have already taken action against Longao. It was precisely because he didn't know if Longao had obtained the burning heart fire lotus that he didn't dare to make a move. If Longao really obtained the old bastard's burning heart fire lotus, if he wasn't lucky, then he wouldn't even have his last chance. Shenyuan Bubai, Longao, I will make you pay with your blood. Chapter 31-26. Ji Hao's heart was filled with endless killing intent. He couldn't wait to deal with Longao, kill him, and take back the heart-burning lotus. However, Ji Hao endured it in the end. He knew very well that he couldn't deal with Longao as long as he didn't take back the heart-burning lotus. He didn't have any confidence. The first heavenly region. The internal strife in the Domain Lord Alliance didn't break out as expected. Instead, it gradually calmed down. Neither the Alliance Master Kang Hao nor the Great Elder Shasai chose to start a war. However, many people were guessing that since the two had chosen to shed all pretense of cordiality, they wouldn't be in a stalemate. No one knew when the two would start a war. The calmer it was, the crazier the war would be. It was really unknown who would win and who would lose. In the courtyard, the Golden Ancient Dragon, also known as Jiu Feng, looked at Kang Lin in shock. "Xiao Lin, have you really broken through to the peak god ancestor realm?" She nodded. Not to mention the ancient golden dragon, even Kang Lin herself couldn't react in time. Unknowingly, her cultivation base had increased rapidly. From the initial godly monarch realm, she had advanced by leaps and bounds. How long had it been? She was already at the peak god ancestor realm. Kang Lin even had a feeling that it wouldn't be long before her cultivation could continue to break through the god ancestor realm and reach the legendary chaotic realm. What was going on? Kang Lin was a little confused. She didn't know what was going on with her. Anyway, something was wrong. As for what was wrong, she couldn't tell. "Uncle Ji, what do you think is going on with me?" The Golden Ancient Dragon was also a little confused. After living for so many years, he had never encountered such a situation. "Seems like you have to ask Longao. At this moment. Miss, someone outside wants to see you. He claims to be Longao." "Ah!" Kang Lin was very surprised. She never thought that Brother Long would come at this time. She immediately said, "Invite him in." In a short while, Longao had already appeared in front of Kang Lin and said with a smile, "Sister Lin." Before Longao finished speaking, Kang Lin's body had already fiercely hugged him. The Golden Ancient Dragon shook his head helplessly and didn't say anything. An hour later, after listening to Kang Lin's explanation, Longao wasn't surprised at all. Instead, he became even more serious. Under normal circumstances, no matter how talented a martial artist was, it was impossible to have such a fast cultivation speed. Moreover, Sister Lin's talent could only be considered amazing. She might not even be as good as him. How was that possible? It was complete nonsense. Big Sister Lin, haven't you noticed anything wrong with yourself? He shook his head. If he could figure out what was wrong, he wouldn't be so conflicted. Sorry to trouble you. Could it be Zhu Ying's doing? Of course, Longao knew that it was impossible. Since Zhu Ying had already chosen to submit to him, he would definitely not do something so outrageous after knowing his relationship with Sister Lin. If it wasn't for Zhu Ying, Longao couldn't figure out why Sister Lin would be so crazy and raise her strength so quickly. Without any hesitation, Longao immediately began to check Sister Lin's body. However, no matter how much he checked, he couldn't find any problems. At this moment, Kang Lin seemed to have thought of something and said, "Brother Long, I suddenly remembered something. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with my cultivation speed." "What is it?" "Back then, I accidentally came across a coffin. I named it the engulfing coffin." Longao didn't say anything. How could he not know about the engulfing coffin that Sister Lin owned? Back then, Sister Lin had appeared in the vast starry sky with the engulfing coffin. Not long ago, for some reason, the engulfing coffin suddenly disappeared. Then, a seed appeared in it. Seed. Longao's curiosity was piqued when he heard the word seed. His intuition told him that if he was not mistaken, Sister Lin's rapid increase in her cultivation must have something to do with this seed. Otherwise, everything would have happened too suddenly. I don't know what's going on with this seed either. In any case, it has completely fused with my dantian. I can clearly sense the tremendous power released by this seed. It seems like it's because I've absorbed the power released by this seed that my cultivation speed has become so fast. It was inconceivable. What was the origin of this seed? It was so terrifying. Just by absorbing the power released by the seed, she could break through from the Divine King realm to the peak of the God Ancestor realm in such a short time. It was really terrifying. Sister Lin, don't resist. I'm going to enter your dantian and see what's going on with this seed. Longao was of course worried about such a monstrous seed. If the seed could really help Sister Lin cultivate, it would be the best thing. If there was any injury, it would be too late for regrets. Kang Lin certainly wouldn't be on guard. If she didn't trust Brother Long, who else could she trust? In this world, her father, second uncle, and Brother Longao did not dare to have the slightest hesitation. Things were definitely not that simple. His primordial spirit immediately entered Sister Lin's primordial spirit. Sure enough, as Sister Lin had said, there was indeed a seed in the dantian. It was the size of a fingernail and was completely black. The entire seed was emitting traces of light. "Boss, this is the seed of chaos. It's the legendary seed of chaos." Looking at the seed in her primordial spirit, Chonyo, Zhu Ying, and Blackie were completely stunned. They were all in a daze because the three divine beasts of chaos knew clearly what this seed meant. Longao certainly knew and was also extremely shocked. Even though he saw it with his own eyes, he still couldn't believe it. After all, the seed of chaos was a legendary thing. Even they had only heard of it and had never seen it before. Let's go. With this seed of chaos, Sister Lin's achievements in the future will be even greater than yours and mine. Longao quickly left the primordial spirit with the three divine beasts of chaos. "Brother Long, you found something?" In fact, Kang Lin had already seen that Brother Long was relaxed and even a little surprised. She had already guessed that the sudden increase in her cultivation speed must have something to do with the seed, and it was a good thing. "Sister Lin, don't tell anyone about the seed in your chaotic dantian, including your close relatives." "Ah, close relatives." Kang Lin obviously knew what Brother Long meant. It was because of this that she was a little shocked. She didn't know what was going on and why Brother Long was so serious and even wanted to hide it from her father and second uncle. However, she knew that Brother Long wouldn't harm her. Chapter 31:27. After Kang Lin left, Xiao Hei asked impatiently, "Boss, since Sister Lin has the chaos seed, does that mean that she can really validate her Dao in the future?" Before Longao could say anything, Chonyo interrupted. Legend has it that the Chaos Seed is born from chaos. If she can get the Chaos Seed, she will definitely be able to validate her Tao. However, Longao shook his head. Even if she gets the Chaos Seed, she might not be able to validate her Tao. Longao was surprised as well. Sister Lin's luck was too good. She actually obtained a Chaos Seed. Was this a good thing or a bad thing? No one knew. If she could continue cultivating smoothly, it would definitely be the best thing that could happen. But what if she couldn't? Longao knew very well that if the news of Sister Lin having the Chaos Seed in her body were to spread, he knew what would happen. He must not let it leak out. Absolutely not. How could Xiao He not know what his boss was worried about? Boss, how about, waving his hand, Longao knew what Xiao He wanted to say without waiting for Xiao He to say anything else. I can't steal the Chaos Seed in Sister Lin's body. Xiao He's meaning was simple. If Sister Lin gave the Chaos Seed in her body to Lin Fan, he would definitely be able to validate his Tao after 10,000 years with the Chaos Seed. However, how could Longao agree to that? It was completely impossible and almost nonsensical. Of course, Longao knew what it meant if he could get the Chaos Seed. Boss, how many Chaos Seeds are there in the Chaos Realm? Xiao He sighed deeply. Of course, he knew that his boss wouldn't do that. If he really stole the Chaos Seed in Sister Lin's body, he wouldn't be his boss. As for how many Chaos Seeds there were in the Chaos Realm, probably no one knew, including Longao. He smiled and shook his head. I'm afraid no one knows. However, every Chaos Seed will choose its owner automatically. Back then, a few seniors got the Chaos Seed and the righteous path succeeded. However, no one knows what happened after that. It would be a lie to say that no one in the entire Chaos Realm had succeeded in the righteous path. But what happened in the end? Every person who succeeded in validating their Tao seemed to disappear completely and never to be seen again. No one knew what was going on. If he wanted to know the truth, he would have to succeed in proving his Tao. The matter of the primal Chaos Seed must not be leaked. In the study, looking at his daughter, Kang Hao was shocked. With Longao's help, Kang Lin had completely concealed her aura. Even chaotic realm experts wouldn't be able to sense Kang Lin's true strength. However, how could Kang Hao not know? It was just that he had never asked. Lin, why did your cultivation speed suddenly increase? What's going on? Actually, Kang Lin was also worried that the 9 neonate bloodline was behind this. Although Longao had already settled the Juying bloodline, no one knew what was going on. If there were any accidents, what would they do? They wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. There must be no accidents. He could not let anything happen to Lin. Father, I don't know what's going on either. However, Brother Dragon has already said that this will only benefit me. Perhaps it's because I'm absorbing the energy that Juying left behind. If not for Longao, Kang Lin would have already told her father about the primal Chaos Seed. However, she didn't say a word now. Kang Hao didn't doubt his daughter's words at all. He would never have thought that Lin would lie to him. As for Kang Lin, although he didn't know what the primal Chaos Seed was, since Brother Dragon had said it so seriously, he knew what it meant. He'd better wait and see. Lin, in that case, you should cultivate well. I want to ask, what realm are you in now? Kang Hao only knew that his daughter's cultivation speed had suddenly increased. However, he didn't know what realm she was in now. Father, I'm already a peak godly ancestor. Kang Lin didn't hide her realm at all. Ah, peak godly ancestor? Even Kang Hao was shocked. As her father, he knew his daughter's realm best. She was just a divine king. However, in such a short time, she had broken through from the divine king realm to the peak godly ancestor. Such a cultivation speed was almost the best among all. He knew his daughter's talent very well. It was impossible. It seemed that it really had something to do with Juying's bloodline. However, as Longao had said, it was really beneficial to his daughter. Peak godly ancestor was the peak existence below the chaotic realm. Only one step was left for her to become a chaotic warrior. How could he not be excited? How could he not be excited? Lin, is there any hope for you to break through the chaotic realm? This was what Kang Hao was most concerned about. Although peak godly ancestor was powerful, he was still a godly ancestor. Only when he stepped into the chaotic realm could he be considered to have stepped into the peak. In that case, he would not only have a good helper, but also Lin would be able to protect herself. Kang Lin knew what her father meant. After thinking for a while, she said, "Father, within 3 years, I will definitely be able to reach the chaotic realm." Good, good, good. Kang Hao said good 3 times in a row. Of course, he knew his daughter's character. She wouldn't say that if she wasn't completely sure. Since she said so, there was no doubt that she would break through the chaotic realm within 3 years. Kang Hao knew clearly what it meant for his daughter to break through the chaotic realm. Until now, Kang Hao was still a little confused. He was very surprised by his daughter's cultivation speed. If it went on like this, his daughter would definitely surpass him in the future. After Lina left, Kang Hao took a deep breath. Except for Longao and the 3 chaotic divine beasts, even the ancient golden dragon didn't know about the seed of chaos. It was not that he didn't believe it, but the less people knew about it, the safer it would be for Sister Lin. Among them, the ancient golden dragon was the most depressed. When he followed Kang Lin, she was just a little divine king. At that time, he was already a level 9 divine beast. But now, in such a short time, she had broken through to the peak godly ancestor. He was still a level 9 divine beast. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't depressed. Under Kang Hao's and Longao's suggestions, Kang Lin chose to cultivate in seclusion. Since she already had the seed of chaos, she had to cultivate in seclusion. She would strive to break through to the chaotic realm from the peak godly ancestor within 3 years with the help of the seed of chaos. Therefore, without any hesitation, Kang Lin chose to cultivate in seclusion. Chapter 31-28. Now that Kang Lin was in seclusion, Longao was not prepared to stay any longer. The reason why he had come to the Domain Lord Alliance was to visit Sister Lin. With the Chaos Seed, it shouldn't be too hard for Sister Lin to break through to the Chaos state even if she didn't manage to attain her Dao in the future. Therefore, Shusha had no idea that Longao had come in secret. Otherwise, he could imagine what would have happened. Boom, 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 boom. Longao had just left the Domain Lord Alliance and was less than 1,000 meters away. Just then, the entire world boomed with the sound of thunder. Boom, 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 boom. Boss, let's go. Longao was completely stumped. He did not know what was going on. Why would he be locked in by the chaos thunder for no reason? What was going on? Just as Longao was about to enter the chaos dantian, his entire body was locked in by the chaos thunder. This meant that he could not enter the chaos dantian at all. Longao was not the only one. Even the 3 chaos god beasts, Little Black, Chou Nyo, and Ju Ying were completely stumped. The chaos thunder was one of the strongest powers in the chaos world. The chaos thunder was hailed as the destructive power of the chaos world. One could only imagine how strong it was. Countless chaos thunder bolts shrouded Longao instantly. Boom, 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 boom. In less than a couple of hours, countless people were gathered around. Kang Hao, Shishua, and the others had rushed over as well. Because of her seclusion, Kang Lin did not appear. No one knew what was going on. Even more so, they did not know which unlucky bastard would be shrouded in the most terrifying chaos thunder in the world. Under such circumstances, he would definitely die. What in the world is going on? It has been many years since the last chaos thunder appeared in the chaos world. Who in the world is this man? Not far away, Kang Han said in shock, "Big bro, legends have it that the chaos thunder is one of the strongest powers in the chaos world. To think that this man would be shrouded in it. That's way too unbelievable." Kang Hao nodded his head. This person must have obtained some sort of peerless treasure to be able to trigger the primordial lightning. This was the only explanation he could think of. Other than that, he really couldn't think of anything else that could explain what he was seeing. Within the chaotic lightning, countless lightning bolts crazily attacked Longao. Boom, 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 boom. The entire world changed color. Countless bolts of lightning resounded through the 9 heavens. Everyone retreated continuously, afraid that they would be affected by the chaotic lightning. Longao had lost contact with the 3 chaotic divine beasts. Longao didn't even have the chance to dodge such a concentrated attack of chaotic lightning. Under such circumstances, he could only resist. Was it realistic to go head-to-head with the primal chaos lightning? It was almost nonsensical. Boom, boom, boom. Countless chaotic thunderbolts continuously struck Longao's body. If it were other warriors, not to mention such a dense chaotic thunderbolt attack, even if they casually took out a few chaotic thunderbolts, they would vanish into thin air. But just at this moment, the chaos tree within his chaotic dantian suddenly appeared before Longao. It released a horrifying life force that caged his entire body. That massive life force defended against the surrounding chaotic thunderbolts. Looking at the situation, Longao seemed to have understood something. If he wasn't wrong, the reason why he was targeted by the chaotic thunderbolts should be because of the chaos tree. As the #1 legendary item in the chaos world, the chaos tree was nothing to worry about even if it was targeted by the chaotic thunderbolts. But he was in big trouble now. Who knew what would happen next? In the face of this horrifying chaotic thunderbolts, he didn't even have a chance to fight back. Even if he was at his peak back then, he might not have been able to deal with the chaotic thunderbolts. This was the horrifying part of the chaotic thunderbolts. And just as Longao was at a loss of what to do, realizing that he could communicate with his chaotic dantian once more, without any hesitation, Longao turned around and entered his chaotic dantian. No matter how strong the chaotic thunderbolts were, there was no way they could enter his chaotic dantian. Longao was extremely confident about this. The reason why he didn't enter his chaotic dantian immediately was because he hadn't expected to be targeted by the chaotic thunderbolts. Just the thought of it sent shivers down his spine. The chaotic thunderbolts outside were still attacking the chaos tree relentlessly. However, Longao wasn't worried at all. The strength of the chaos tree was needless to say. If it could destroy the chaos tree, the chaotic thunderbolts wouldn't have waited until now. About a couple of hours later, the chaotic thunderbolts gradually disappeared as the chaos tree returned to the chaotic dantian. Looking at the retreating chaotic thunderbolts, everyone was shocked. Everyone was guessing that no matter who it was that was attacked by the chaotic thunderbolts, there was only death awaiting them. Boss, you mean to say that the reason why you were targeted by the chaotic thunderbolts was because of the chaos tree? Nodding his head, Longao said helplessly, as the #1 divine object in the chaos realm, it's normal to be targeted by the chaotic thunderbolts. However, I'll be in big trouble next. Although the chaotic dantian and the chaos tree could help him withstand the chaotic thunderbolts' attacks, Longao couldn't guarantee that he would be lucky every time. If the chaos tree hadn't appeared in time and entered his chaotic dantian in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Boss, what should we do now? Of course, Xiaohei knew that his boss wouldn't give up the chaos tree so easily. As the #1 divine object in the chaos realm, the chaos tree would be of great help to the Dao validation 10,000 years later. Not to mention his boss, he believed that no one would choose to give up the chaos tree even if they knew that there would be endless trouble if they didn't choose to give up the chaos tree. How could Longao not know what Xiaohei meant? Not to mention the chaotic thunderbolts, even if there was a force 10,000 times more dangerous than the chaotic thunderbolts, he still wouldn't choose to give up the chaos tree. It wasn't easy to get the chaos tree, so how could he choose to give it up so easily? Just be careful in the future. I have to recover as soon as possible. If I can reach the peak of the 7th revolution, then the chaotic thunderbolts won't be able to target the chaos tree at all and our troubles will be solved. It was easy to think about it, but it was difficult to actually do it. After all, he had spent a lot of effort and opportunities to cultivate the 9 revolution chaos mantra to the peak of the 7th revolution. Now that he had reincarnated, it was indeed difficult for him to recover to the peak of the 7th revolution. Boss, when can you start to comprehend the second divine power? Chapter 31-29. There were 4 divine powers in the 7th transformation of chaos. The first divine punishment, the second divine path extermination, the third divine powers, and the 4th divine powers, reincarnation. Back then, Boss had reached the peak of the 4th divine powers, reincarnation. Beyond. That was the peak of chaos reincarnation. Now, Boss had just comprehended the peak of the first divine powers. Instantly, Blackie was anxious. He didn't know when Boss could comprehend the second divine powers. How could Longao not know what Blackie meant? I'm only a peak emperor god now. If I want to comprehend the second divine powers, I have to break through to the peak god ancestor realm. It was difficult. Because of Longao's physique, he had to swallow a huge amount of energy to break through to the peak god ancestor realm. Think about it. Where could he swallow such a huge amount of energy? This was also where Longao felt the most helpless. Chaotic sacred body had its advantages and disadvantages. He didn't feel anything about it, but the truth was in front of him. He could only accept it. No matter what, he had to break through to the peak god ancestor realm as soon as possible. Only then could he comprehend the second divine powers of the seventh transformation of chaos, Tao extermination. At this moment, Longao was summoned by Dongfang Tu Ying. Without hesitation, he went to the Elixir Hall. The Elixir Hall. As one of the two superpowers in the first heavenly region, the Elixir Hall was powerful. In a very lousy courtyard. Han Yin and Han Feng weren't there. Only Dongfang Tu Ying said in surprise, "Brother Long, after such a long time, Yun Qian and Yun Shi's primordial spirits have recovered. It's meaningless for them to stay in the Shen Yuan sword." Longao wasn't a fool. He knew what Dongfang Tu Ying meant. Then, two primordial spirits appeared. Brother Long good. Looking at the two primordial spirits in front of him, Longao was surprised. The two girls didn't want to drag him down, so they chose to explode their primordial spirits. Luckily, it was the Shen Yuan sword. Strictly speaking, it was all thanks to Shen Yuan Bubai. Otherwise, regardless of whether it was Yun Qian or Yun Shi, they would have vanished into thin air and ceased to exist. Longao talked with the two girls for a few hours before he returned to his dantian. However, the current situation was very troublesome. Even the primordial spirit could not forcefully stay in the chaotic dantian. What should he do? It was almost impossible for Dongfang Tu Ying to resurrect the two women. If they could do it, they wouldn't have asked him to do it. Regarding this point, how could Longao not know? Boss, if it was in the past, there would definitely be no way. But now, the situation is different. You have a way. Hearing Xiao Hei's words, Longao immediately asked. As long as he could keep the two primordial spirits in his chaotic dantian, there would be nothing to worry about. As for the matter of rebirth, he would slowly think of a way to deal with it in the future. Boss, now that there's the chaos tree in the chaos dantian, as long as you leave the two primordial spirits beside the chaos god, I believe that the chaos dantian will not teleport them out. It might even be very beneficial to the primordial spirits. All right. Why didn't he think of the chaos tree? Now that he thought about it, things were indeed a little different. Without the slightest hesitation, Longao also wanted to see if Xiao Hei's guess was correct. If this still couldn't keep the two of them, then things would be troublesome. The second day, the third day, all the way until the fourth day, seeing that Yun Qian and Sister Yun were not teleported out of the Chaos Dantian, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. By the looks of it, that was indeed the case. With the protection of the Chaos Tree, the primordial spirits could stay in the Chaos Dantian. Xiao Qian, Sister Yun, how are you guys feeling? Little brother Long, don't worry. We're doing great here. I don't know why, but we can sense an extremely strong power coming from this little tree. After devouring this power, our cultivation speed seems to have increased tremendously. Furthermore, it seems to be of great help to our primordial spirits as well. Without the slightest bit of surprise, Longao had already guessed it. As the #1 legendary object in the Chaos world, there was no need to talk about how strong the Chaos Tree was. For it to be able to withstand the attacks of the Chaos Thunder, one could only imagine how strong the Chaos Tree was. From now on, the two of you shall stay here and cultivate in peace. When the opportunity arises, I'll let you guys be reborn. Understood. After leaving, Longao once again found Dongfang Tu Ying and went straight to the point. Big brother Dongfang, I would like to ask, you have already refined the Shenyuan sword, have you found anything fishy? Longao could almost be sure that his master, Shenyuan Bubai, definitely had something on Ji Yu Hao. Otherwise, why would Ji Hao care so much about his master's inheritance? It was completely illogical. His master, Shenyuan Bubai, was only a divine emperor warrior, but Ji Hao was most likely already in the Chaos realm. Under normal circumstances, Ji Hao should have ignored his master's inheritance, but what was the result? Only now did Longao have some guesses about such a strange thing. Of course, Dongfang Tuying knew the meaning of Longao's question. He shook his head and said, "No, I have already completely refined the Shenyuan sword. If there is anything fishy, I should know about it." Brother Long, did you miss something from the things that Senior Shenyuan left behind? Dongfang Tuying naturally knew about the grudge between Longao and Ji Hao. Longao was also very curious. He didn't know what was going on. Could it be that he guessed wrongly? It shouldn't be possible. After all, Ji Hao was so afraid of the inheritance that his master left behind. He wouldn't believe that there was nothing fishy about it even if he was beaten to death. The things that his master, Shenyuan Bubai, left behind could be counted with one's fingers. Other than the power inheritance, there was only the Shenyuan sword and the burning heart flame lotus. Now, there was nothing fishy about the power inheritance and the Shenyuan sword. Could it be the burning heart flame lotus? If there was nothing fishy about the burning heart flame lotus, then this matter was too strange. After thinking about it, he couldn't figure out why Ji Hao was so afraid of the inheritance that his master left behind. Longao didn't say anything about the burning heart flame lotus, because he didn't dare to say if his guess was true or not. Big brother Dongfang, let's stop here. Since Xiao Qian and Sister Yun have already recovered their primordial spirits, I will leave the pill hall first and see how to revive them. Ian, if you have any difficulties, just come and find me. If I can't do it, there is still young master and young lady. Of course, Longao knew who the young lady and young master Dongfang Tuying was talking about were. No matter if it was Han Yin or Han Feng, their status in the Pill Palace was very high. After all, their father was the Pill Palace's palace master. Longao smiled and said, "I will." From the beginning to the end, Longao didn't inform Han Yin and Han Feng. He didn't want to cause any trouble for them. Chapter 3130. After leaving the Pill Hall, Longao was always on his guard. Who knew if he would continue to be targeted by the Chaos Palace? He didn't want to cause a commotion every time. If he was unlucky and the fact that he was targeted by the Chaos Lightning was discovered by others, it would be troublesome. Fortunately, the Chaos Lightning didn't continue to target him. "Boss, have you heard of the Dao Tai Divine Beast?" Longao was curious. He didn't know why Chonyo mentioned the Dao Tai Divine Beast. He wasn't unfamiliar with the Dao Tai Divine Beast. The 10 great Chaos Divine Beasts, Ju Ying, Zhu Yin, Pai Xiu, Chonyo, Dao Wu, Sky Splitter Beast, Golden Bai Beast, 9-headed Dragon Python, Dao Tai, Heaven Swallowing Beast. Dao Tai was one of the 10 great Chaos Divine Beasts. According to the legends, Dao Tai could swallow everything in the world. It was extremely ferocious. Back then, someone joined forces to suppress the Dao Tai Divine Beast. Nodding, Longao said, "I know." "Why?" Chonyo smiled and said, "Back then, Dao Tai was forcefully suppressed. Why don't you take this opportunity to subdue it?" "I see." Longao already knew what Chonyo meant. His face was solemn. Many people knew that the Dao Tai was forcefully suppressed. However, no one knew who suppressed the Dao Tai. No one even knew where the Dao Tai Divine Beast was suppressed. Even if he wanted to subdue the Dao Tai Divine Beast, he had to know where it was suppressed. If he didn't even know where it was, everything else would be nonsense. As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Chonyo continued, "Boss, I know who sealed the Dao Tai." "Who?" It would be a lie if he said he didn't want to subdue the Dao Tai Divine Beast. As for whether the Dao Tai Divine Beast was sealed, it was still a mystery. No one knew. Even Longao wanted to know who could forcefully suppress the Dao Tai Divine Beast as one of the 10 great Chaos Divine Beasts. It seemed like even when he was at his peak, it wasn't easy to suppress it. Who was it? Chonyo, tell me. Who is it? Not to mention Longao, even Blackie and Juying couldn't wait. Chonyo knew how to keep them in suspense. The Grand Tao of Chaos. Scram. How can the Grand Tao of Primordial Chaos seal the Daotai Divine Beast? Not to mention Little Hay, even Longao found it hard to believe. The Great Tao of Chaos was an ethereal existence. Although these peak chaotic realm warriors believed that the Great Tao of Chaos could suppress them, the Great Tao of Chaos had never appeared for countless years. This was simply nonsense. Chonyo shook his head helplessly and said, "Others might not know about Taotia's power, but I do. Among the 10 chaotic divine beasts, Daotai is definitely the most powerful." Huh. Of course, the three of them did not doubt Chonyo's strength. From this, they could imagine how powerful the Daotai divine beast was. How many people in the entire chaotic world are able to suppress the Daotai divine beast's valiant strength? And no one knows about it. Where is the Daotai divine beast being suppressed? Longao didn't care who had suppressed the Daotai divine beast. If he could tame the Daotai divine beast, it would definitely be beneficial for his future Dao validation. Putting aside the Dao validation, having one more helper when facing the likes of the marvelous mathematician would mean one more power. Boss, back then, the Daotai divine beast seemed to want to devour the Great Tao of Chaos. Hence, it was suppressed by the Great Tao of Chaos. We have to believe that the Great Tao of Chaos does exist. Chonyo continued, the Daotai divine beast is being suppressed in Heavenly Demon Abyss. Heavenly Demon Abyss. Longao was shocked when he heard that the Daotai divine beast was being sealed in Heavenly Demon Abyss. Heavenly Demon Abyss was one of the chaotic forbidden lands like God Prohibition. That was indeed the case. Longao never expected that the Daotai divine beast, one of the 10 chaotic divine beasts, would be sealed in Heavenly Demon Abyss, one of the chaotic forbidden lands. Let's go. Longao left immediately. Since there was a chance to tame the Daotai divine beast, if he didn't seize the opportunity, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret. Under normal circumstances, it was almost impossible to tame the Daotai divine beast. But now, the situation was completely different. The Daotai divine beast had been suppressed for tens of thousands of years. If he were to make a request now to help the Daotai divine beast break the seal, he believed that the chances of taming the Daotai divine beast would be high. Xiao Hei and the other two were looking forward to it. After all, the Daotai divine beast was the strongest among the 10 chaotic divine beasts. Otherwise, why would the Daotai divine beast dare to devour the Chaos Dao? Would the other chaotic divine beasts dare to do so? At this moment, in the entire chaotic world, an unbelievable thing happened in all the cities that had king-naming towers. All the king-naming towers disappeared. Those who were cultivating in the king-naming towers were forcefully teleported away. No one knew what was going on. Longao also received the news. Could it be Hao Lin? The current Longao was no longer the Longao of the past. After awakening his primordial spirit, he knew that the so-called king-naming towers were transformed from Hao Lin's God-sealing tower. The power of the God-sealing tower was needless to say. It was even comparable to his own Chaos Axe. It was also a treasure born from chaos. As for why Hao Lin did this, the reason was very simple. Hao Lin probably wanted to use the God-sealing pagoda to absorb the power of martial artists. This way, he would be able to recover to his peak in the shortest amount of time. However, what made Longao curious was why Hao Lin would suddenly take back the God-sealing pagoda. Could it be that an accident had occurred? Longao admired Hao Lin. Even if they weren't friends, they were definitely not enemies. After 10,000 years, Hao Lin might be able to help him. Following the disappearance of countless king-naming towers, the entire chaotic world was shaken. Everyone was guessing what was going on. The king-naming towers were the sacred cultivation grounds of all the martial artists in the chaotic world. It was strange that they disappeared so easily and no one knew what was going on. On the peak of a desolate mountain, Longao's figure appeared. Looking at the man in front of him, he asked curiously, "Hao Lin, why did you suddenly take back the God-sealing tower?" Hao Lin smiled helplessly and said helplessly, "Longao, I believe you know what will happen 10,000 years later. I don't have much time left. If this continues, I will definitely disappear in 10,000 years. So, I am prepared to take a risk. I hope that you can help me in the future. Once I succeed, I will help you deal with the others. How about that? Regarding Hao Lin's intentions, how could Longao not know? Chapter 31:31. Mutual Benefit. Hao Lin nodded with a smile and said, Longao, I know that others want to borrow your strength to prove their Tao. 10,000 years later, you will be in big trouble. How could Longao not know what Hao Lin was talking about? If it was because of the 9-revolution chaos formula that he created, the marvelous mathematician and others would have taken action long ago. Why wait until 10,000 years later? But would he be afraid? That was a joke. Hao Lin, what are you going to do next? This was what Longao was most concerned about. It was still the same saying, one more friend was better than one more enemy. I am going to choose a place to cultivate. After 10,000 years, I will naturally come to find you. Please. Goodbye. In the next second, Hao Lin's figure had already disappeared without a trace. Boss, can Hao Lin's words be trusted? Xiao He asked coldly. As the saying goes, one may know a person for a long time without understanding his true nature. No one knew what Hao Lin was thinking, especially when Hao Lin was at the peak of the rebirth realm. Once Hao Lin cheated, the consequences would be unimaginable. Hao Lin has no need to be my enemy. After all, I can help him prove his Tao. Xiao He seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he shook his head and did not speak. Anyway, he was still unwilling to believe Hao Lin. With the disappearance of the God-sealing tower, the entire chaotic realm trembled. Even now, no one knew what had happened. Why would the king-conferred pagoda disappear all of a sudden? Everyone was looking for the reason, but the God-sealing tower itself was Hao Lin's treasure. How could it be discovered by others? Heavenly Demon Abyss, one of the chaotic forbidden lands. Heavenly Demon Abyss was different from the God-sealing tower. Although the God-sealing tower was known as one of the chaotic forbidden lands, everyone could easily enter. As for life and death, it was unknown. As for the Heavenly Demon Abyss, the situation was different. Not everyone could casually step into the Heavenly Demon Abyss. At the very least, one had to be a chaotic realm warrior to enter. It was Longao's first time coming to the Heavenly Demon Abyss, but he already knew the rules of the Heavenly Demon Abyss. Boss, you have not broken through the chaotic realm. You cannot step into the Heavenly Demon Abyss. He nodded. How could Longao not know what Xiao He meant? He did not expect that it would be so troublesome to enter the Heavenly Demon Abyss. Boss, I have an idea. Hearing Chonyo's words, Longao was overjoyed. Chonyo, I want to ask, do you have any grievances with Dao Tai? What Xiao He asked was also what Longao wanted to ask. His intuition told him that Chonyo seemed to want him to subdue Dao Tai. Could it be that Chonyo wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife? As long as he died, Chonyo would regain his freedom. However, after thinking about it, he felt that this was a little ridiculous. If Chonyo wanted to regain his freedom, he would rather die than submit to him. What is it? Longao knew that he was thinking too much. Chonyo said, Boss, to be honest, I fought with Dao Tai countless times and was abused countless times. If you can subdue him, I will feel better. So that was the case. Sure enough, Chonyo wanted to use him to deal with Dao Tai. However, this was not a big deal for him. Anyway, subduing the Dao Tai was beneficial and harmless to him. It was just that the process of subduing it would not be so simple. Boss, I can bring you into the Heavenly Devil Abyss. You have entered it before? Yes. Sure enough. With Chonyo's help, Longao did enter the Heavenly Devil Abyss smoothly. If it were someone else, it would be a fool's dream to enter the Heavenly Devil Abyss before they broke through to the chaotic realm. The Heavenly Devil Abyss was filled with a large amount of demon chi. It was undeniably the best place for demon Dao warriors to cultivate. However, it was a pity that ordinary demon Dao warriors could not enter. As for whether there were demon Dao warriors in the chaotic realm, it was unknown. If it were someone else, even if they could enter the Heavenly Devil Abyss, it would be impossible to find the place where Dao Tai was sealed. After all, the Heavenly Devil Abyss was too big and boundless. No one knew how big the Heavenly Devil Abyss was. With Chonyo leading the way, Longao soon arrived at the place where Daotai was sealed. It was a huge mountain. Boss, Daotai is at the bottom of the mountain. However, if we want to enter the mountain, we have to go around the seal. It's not an easy task. Longao naturally knew how troublesome it was. However, it was not a problem for him. After circling around, he found a loophole and stepped in. At the bottom of the mountain, it was a huge cave. The sound of water dripping could be heard all around. Drip, drip, drip. Just as Chonyo had said, there was a huge object in front of him that was sealed by a horrifying power. It was one of the 10 great chaos god beasts, Daotai. Looking over, Daotai looked like a huge ball of meat. It was humongous. Only its eyes were small, so small that it was pitiful. Who are you? To think that you could make it here? Daotai asked weakly. After being sealed for tens of thousands of years, its temper had been ground down. No matter how arrogant Daotai was, it could not unleash its full potential now that it was sealed. Daotai, long time no see. How have you been? Chonyo, Blackie, and Ju Ying appeared at the same time. Other than Ju Ying, who was only an essence spirit, Blackie and Chonyo were both in their original bodies. Looking at the 3 chaos god beasts that appeared before him, Daotai was completely stunned. He knew clearly what it meant for the 3 chaos god beasts to appear here at the same time. The 3 chaos god beasts were not at their pinnacle state. They had only just awakened their essence spirits. Looking at Chonyo, Daotai said coldly, Chonyo, you're just a defeated opponent. To think that you would have to bow down to a human now. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. The 10 great chaos god beasts were the strongest god beasts in the chaos world. They stood at the pinnacle of all god beasts. There were very few chaos god beasts who were willing to bow down to a human martial artist unless they had no other choice. But to Tao Tie's surprise, it was not just Chonyo. Even Ju Ying and Di Tian, the 2 chaos god beasts, had chosen this person. What was going on? Daotai did not recognize Longao. He thought that the other party was just an ordinary human martial artist. And that was the reason why Daotai was so curious. Daotai, so what if you're stronger than me? Aren't you still sealed here? If not for boss's help, you'll never be able to break out of this place. Chonyo's meaning was clear. Daotai laughed out maniacally once more and said in disdain, a human martial artist who hasn't even reached the chaos realm wants to help me break out of this seal? Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 31-32. Daotai definitely wouldn't believe that a mere human martial artist could help him break the seal. Forget about an emperor god, even a chaotic realm wouldn't be able to do it. How could he? Chonyo wanted to say something. However, Longao waved his hand and stopped him. He smiled and said, Daotai, I would like to know who sealed you here. Until then, Longao still didn't believe that Daotai was sealed by the so-called Chaos Dao. That was bullsh*t. Although everyone knew that there was an illusory Chaos Dao in Chaotic Realm, no one had come into contact with it. To attain Dao, one had to resist the suppression of the Chaos Dao. It was easy to say but difficult to do it. Why should I tell you? Who are you? F***ck, Daotai, who are you? How dare you speak to my boss like that? Xiao Hei couldn't stand Daotai's arrogance. They were both chaotic divine beasts but Daotai didn't even care about him. How could he not be angry? Daotai chose to ignore Xiao Hei. He didn't even care about Chonyo, let alone Di Tian. In Daotai's eyes, he was ranked first among the 10 chaotic divine beasts. The other 9 chaotic divine beasts added together couldn't even compare to him. I originally wanted to help you break the seal and leave this place. Since you don't know what's good for you, forgive me for taking my leave. Let's go. Ah! Seeing that their boss was really leaving, the 3 chaotic divine beasts were curious. They didn't know what their boss meant. They were here to tame Daotai. Now that they were leaving so easily, they couldn't take it lying down. Ju Ying and Chonyo aside, Xiao Hei didn't believe that their boss would give up so easily. It wasn't like him. Can you really help me break the seal? Hearing Daotai's words, Longao smiled in his heart. The prerequisite is that you have to tell me who sealed you. I don't know. Don't know? Longao was very curious. He could clearly sense that what the other party said should be true. However, this matter was a bit nonsensical. As one of the top 10 chaotic divine beasts, how could the Daotai divine beast not know who sealed it? What's going on? Speaking of the past, the Daotai godly beast felt a little helpless. Tens of thousands of years ago, I had already reached the pinnacle of reincarnation. I was only one step away from successfully confirming my Dao. He was startled. Longao and the other 3 divine beasts of chaos knew what Daotai meant. If that was the case, the Daotai divine beast could be the leader of the 10 divine beasts of chaos. Apart from the Daotai, the other 9 divine beasts of chaos had yet to reach the pinnacle of the reincarnation realm. Longao didn't say anything. He just listened quietly. One day. Let's get to the point. Shut up. For some reason, Little Black just didn't like the other party, and the Daotai divine beast didn't seem to like the other party either. Longao felt helpless. He glanced at Blackie and said, "Blackie, don't mess around. Stand aside and listen." It could be said that Blackie obeyed Longao's every word. It glared fiercely at the Daotai divine beast and shut its mouth. One day, I accidentally entered the heavenly demon abyss. I don't know why, but I suddenly had the opportunity to confirm my Dao. Hearing this, there was an uproar. Dao confirmation? It was a realm that all martial artists of chaos dreamed of reaching. Even Longao, who had created the 9 revolutions chaos formula, had not succeeded in confirming his Dao. One could imagine how difficult it was to confirm his Dao. It was precisely because of this. Longao and the others never thought that the Daotai divine beast would have the opportunity to confirm his Dao. It seemed that the Daotai divine beast being suppressed here had something to do with Dao confirmation. As expected. Just when I was about to succeed in confirming my Dao, I don't know why, but a terrifying force directly suppressed me and sealed me here. The Daotai divine beast didn't continue speaking. Longao also roughly knew the ins and outs of the matter. If that was the case, it seemed that the other party really didn't know what was going on. This was big trouble. Daotai divine beast, did you find anything? The Daotai divine beast also knew what the other party was asking and said helplessly, "No, but the heavenly demon abyss is definitely not simple." Longao roughly checked and found that the formation here was not a formation at all, but a seal of power. With his current strength and the help of Xiao He and the other 2 divine beasts of chaos, it was impossible to forcibly break the seal of power. It was almost a fool's dream. It seemed that he had underestimated this matter. He couldn't even break the seal of power, let alone subdue the Daotai divine beast. Was it possible? Are you fooling me? Seeming to have realized that something was wrong, the Daotai divine beast was instantly furious. What he hated the most was people fooling him. Daotai, to be honest, not to mention the current me, even if I was at my peak with Xiao He and the others, whether or not we could break the seal of power is unknown. I'll destroy you. The Daotai divine beast was completely furious. He really believed it before, but he still played around. He didn't expect that the other party was actually fooling him. How could he not be angry? However, in this case, even if he was angry, he was sealed and couldn't do anything at all. Longao didn't care at all. He thought for a while and said, "Daotai, I've already thought of a way. Not only can it save you, but it can also be done safely. I'm just afraid that you won't agree. As long as you can save me, I'll promise you no matter what method it is." Having been sealed for so long, the Daotai divine beast was also very clear in his heart that he couldn't forcibly break the seal with his own strength. If the other party could really save him, he would agree without hesitation no matter what price he had to pay. This was what he wanted. He was not a philanthropist. If he couldn't subdue the Daotai, he wasn't stupid. Why would he risk his life to save the Daotai? Every man for himself and the devil takes the hindmost. Daotai, my method is actually very simple. As long as you choose to surrender to me like Xiao He and the others, then I can directly transfer you into my chaotic Dantian. No matter what dangers there are in the heavenly devil abyss, I can guarantee that you can leave the heavenly devil abyss safely. How about it? Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. The Daotai divine beast suddenly laughed wildly. He had thought of countless possibilities, But he still didn't expect that the other party actually wanted him to surrender. If he wasn't sealed, he would have slapped the other party to death. Chapter 31-33. Brat, are you joking with me? Longao shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Dao Tai, I know what you mean. But let me tell you clearly, in the entire chaotic world, besides me, Longao, there is no one else who can help you. Before Dao Tai could speak, based on my guess, you wouldn't be sealed here for no reason. I believe your future will be tragic. As for whether you agree to submit to me, it's up to you. I don't care. It really doesn't matter. Previously, he had thought that things were too simple. He did not expect that the seal of the Taotia's power would be so strong. It was impossible to break it forcefully. Longao had already made up his mind. If Dao Tai was unwilling to submit, he would choose to give up. He would not drag things out and create trouble for himself. He did not say anything else. The outcome would depend on Dao Tai's choice. Boss, will Dao Tai submit to you? Difficult. Dao Tai was the leader of the 10 great chaotic divine beasts. If not for this situation, he would not even have the chance to speak. That was the case. Longao only had 1% confidence. Zhu Ying and Qiu Niu looked on nervously. They wanted to see how Dao Tai would choose. Since they had already chosen to submit, no matter if it was Zhu Ying or Qiu Niu, they naturally hoped that Longao would be as strong as possible. If their boss could successfully attain Dao 10,000 years later, it would be a good thing for them. Do you know what you just said means? Yes. Do you think I will agree to it? Yes. Dao Tai snorted and said sarcastically, I, Dao Tai, am one of the 10 great chaotic divine beasts. I was born from chaos. How can I submit to a puny human? Longao did not speak. If you can't submit, let's both take a step back. If you help me break out of the seal, I will agree to one of your requests. How about that? He shook his head. Since things had already come to this, Longao definitely would not agree. It was a joke. He had risked his life to help Dao Tai just for one request. Why would he do that? He was very firm about his attitude. No matter what happened, he would not compromise. Brat, you are playing with fire. Without my help, you will only end up digging your own grave. He turned around and left. This time, Longao's speed was extremely fast. Without giving the other party any chance to react, he had already disappeared from the cave. What was going on? Looking at the figure that had already disappeared, the Dao Tai godly beast was completely confused. He was prepared to bargain with the other party, but he didn't expect that the other party wouldn't talk to him at all and directly turn to leave. Regret. But so what if he regretted it? He had already been sealed for so long. It would be a lie to say that he didn't want to leave. Outside the cave, Blackie, Chonyo, and Zhu Ying were all very curious. They did not know what was going on with their boss. Why did he suddenly choose to leave? After all, the most important reason for entering the heavenly devil abyss this time was to subdue Dao Tai. Taotia's situation was not very optimistic. The 3 mythological beasts could clearly sense that Dao Tai simply wanted to continue the discussion. After all, Dao Tai was not willing to continue the seal. It was just that they did not know what was going on with their boss. Why did he suddenly choose to give up? They really could not figure it out. The heavenly devil abyss is not as simple as you think. You have just heard that the Dao Tai godly beast was actually infinitely close to attaining the Dao here. Moreover, it was unknowingly suppressed by a powerful force. Attaining the Dao, Longao certainly knew how difficult it was. Even when he created the 9 revolution chaos mantra, he did not succeed in attaining the Dao. It seemed a little unrealistic for the Dao Tai godly beast to succeed in attaining the Dao. Boss, what do you mean? Someone deliberately created an illusion for the Dao Tai godly beast, making it think that it was about to attain the Dao. Then, he took the opportunity to suppress the Dao Tai godly beast. This person is definitely not simple. The other party was in the dark while he was in the light. Once they clashed head-on, it would definitely not be a good thing for him. Hearing their boss's words, Blackie finally understood the seriousness of the matter. This matter indeed had to be handled carefully. If they were not careful, their boss would be doomed eternally. Boss, what should we do now? The reason why I chose to leave is related to the hellfire. In the beginning, Longao was not willing to give up so easily. After all, being able to subdue the Dao Tai would be of great help to him, especially in attaining the Dao 10,000 years later. However, at the critical moment, the hellfire, also known as Xiao Hua, suddenly told him that he sensed a familiar aura in the so-called heavenly devil abyss. What did this mean? It was precisely because of this that Longao was prepared to leave the cave first. After he figured out the situation in the heavenly devil abyss, he would see how to subdue the Dao Tai. Thinking of this, he said, Xiao Hua, what is the familiar aura that you sensed? Xiao Hua was very dependent on Longao, especially after Longao obtained the Book of Chaos. Xiao Hua became more and more dependent on Longao and directly entered the chaotic Dantian. The palm-sized Xiao Hua appeared in the palm of Longao's hand. Looking at Longao in front of him, he said with a smile, Boss, this aura is very familiar. If possible, you should leave here as soon as possible because you are not his opponent at all. Xiao Hua also followed Xiao Hei and the others and called Longao boss. Longao's heart skipped a beat. There was no need to say much about the strength of the hellfire. It was ranked third among the 23 types of mystical fires. If it was a mature hellfire, even if he was at his peak, he would not be a match for it. From this, one could imagine how powerful the hellfire was. Even Xiao Hua was afraid. What kind of existence was the other party? Could it be that he chose to give up just like that? Of course, Longao knew that this was the best time to subdue the Dao Tai. However, once he made a move, he would definitely be targeted by the other party. With his current strength, it was almost impossible to contend with the other party. Xiao Hua, can you determine the other party's identity? This was the key. If he could determine the other party's identity first, then he would not have to be so passive. At the same time, he could better think about how to deal with this situation. Xiao Hua shook his head as if he was sensing something. Longao and the others did not dare to disturb him in the slightest. Time passed bit by bit. About 10 minutes later, Xiao Hua shook his head helplessly and said, I can't sense it. Anyway, I am very familiar with the aura here. Boss, you should leave here. If the other party wakes up, you will be in big trouble. At that time, even if you want to leave, it will be a bit impossible. Chapter 31-34. The more Xiao Hua behaved like this, the more Longao felt that something was amiss. Leave. Or continue to stay. Longao would not be willing to give up so easily. Unless it was a last resort, he would not choose to leave so easily. Xiao Hei, Chonyo, and Zhu Ying all looked at their boss, waiting for his decision. After all, Xiao Hua had already said so. If they continued to stay, they knew what the outcome would be. Xiao Hua, do you mean that the other party is in a deep sleep? Yes. Xiao Hua nodded and said, Boss, the other party must have been severely injured and fell into a deep sleep. So that was it. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. Longao finally knew why the other party did not appear when he entered the heavenly demon abyss and entered the sealed land. It turned out that the other party was severely injured and had fallen into a deep sleep. Xiao Hua, can you locate the other party? Ah! Hearing their boss's words, the 3 chaotic sacred beasts were shocked. What did their boss want to do? Could it be? Before the 3 chaotic sacred beasts could speak, Xiao Hua said confidently, Of course, but boss, although the other party is severely injured, it is more than enough to destroy you. I understand. Boss, are you really going? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Longao certainly knew how dangerous it was. However, the more dangerous it was, the more he wanted to go. If he was lucky and the other party was severely injured, he would be able to suppress the other party. Just thinking about it made him excited. Crazy. If it were anyone else, they would definitely hide as far away as possible. Only Longao, this lunatic, wanted to do the opposite. In the deepest part of the heavenly demon abyss. It was an extremely hidden and eerie cave. There was fire all around, giving people a scalp-tingling feeling. Under Xiao Hua's lead, Longao carefully entered the cave and hid all his aura. He was nervous, but he was actually looking forward to it. Longao also wanted to see what it was that could make Xiaohua excited. The entire cave was empty. Besides the flames, there was nothing else. He was very curious. However, after entering the cave, Xiaohua entered his chaotic dantian and never came out again. It seemed that the existence that Fiery was talking about was definitely inside the cave. Xiaohua, can you determine the other party's location? Boss, it's within 100 meters of you. Be careful. Within 100 meters? Longao didn't dare to use his primordial spirit to probe because he didn't know if he would wake her up if he did. He hadn't figured out the other party's identity yet, so he was too passive. What should he do? Pew pew, pew 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 pew, pew 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 pew. At this time, the surrounding flames suddenly began to flicker slowly, and began to emit a sizzling sound, which sounded very strange. Retreating continuously, Longao looked at his surroundings in shock. He did not dare to act rashly. But even so, he did not enter his chaotic dantian. Since he had chosen to come, he was not afraid of danger. Today, he would like to see what kind of existence the other party was to be able to set up a trap to suppress the godly beast Dao Tai. Just this kind of scheming was not something an ordinary person could do. Pew pew, pew pew, pew pew, the flames began to gather slowly. Within 100 meters of Longao, they began to form into a man. This man was emitting a fiery glow from his body, looking extremely wild and domineering. To think that a puny human martial artist who hasn't even reached the chaotic state could have the hellfire follow you. Seems like you're not ordinary either. Heh! Hearing the words of this man before him, Longao was completely stunned. But one had to know that Fiery was still within his chaotic dantian. How could the other party sense Fiery's presence? This was way too strange. As though he could guess what the other party was thinking, the man chuckled. When I was outside, I had already sensed Fiery's presence. So that was the case. Longao and Xiaohua thought that the other party was still asleep, but they didn't expect that as soon as the two of them arrived outside the cave, the fiery man had already woken up. Just as Xiaohua said, Longao could almost be sure that the man in front of him was definitely a primal chaos samsara warrior, and a warrior who had not entered samsara. What sort of concept was that? Even if this man before him was severely injured, he could still deal with Lin Fan with ease. Against such a powerful being, there was only one way out. That was to turn around and enter his chaotic dantian. Towards his chaotic dantian, Longao was still confident. Who are you? Didn't Fiery tell you who I am? Seemed like Fiery really did know this man. It was just that Fiery had entered reincarnation once more. That was why he could sense a familiar aura. But since things had come to this, Longao did not hide anything. Fiery has entered reincarnation once more. Therefore, he doesn't know anything from before. I see. You should know that the Heaven Devil's Abyss is a chaotic forbidden ground. Even though I don't know how you entered the Heaven Devil's Abyss, I'd still advise you to leave this place. Remember, I'm doing this on account of Fiery. Otherwise, you'd be dead by now. The man's words were very clear. The more it was so, the more certain Longao was that there was a relationship between Fiery and this man. However, he did not leave. Instead, he said, I really want to know your identity. I also want to know why you planned to suppress the divine beast Dao Tai. You're here to save Dao Tai? You can say yes, but you can also say no. Originally, I wanted to subdue Dao Tai. To be honest, I also hope to advance to the peak of martial arts. If I have Tao Tie's help, maybe. Waving his hand, the man stopped Longao before he could finish his words. He said coldly, you'd better not interfere in the matter of Dao Tai. Don't even think about subduing Dao Tai. He's mine. If you dare to interfere in this matter, even if there's Fiery, I'll still kill you. Longao would not believe that there was nothing fishy about it even if he was beaten to death. As for what was going on, it seemed that no one knew except for the man in front of him. However, in this situation, how could he let the other party speak? It was completely nonsense. I want to know your identity. Have you heard of the 23 types of exotic fires? Hearing the man's words, Longao was not the slightest bit surprised in his heart. This was because he had already vaguely guessed that the other party was most likely one of the 23 types of heavenly flames. Otherwise, why would Xiao Hua sense a familiar aura? Chapter 31-35. You're a deviant flame? That's right. Just as expected. Even though he had already guessed that the other party was a deviant flame, he did not know which of the 23 deviant flames he was. Right now, he had already obtained 3 deviant flames. They were the number 1 Chaos Flame, number 3 Hell Flame, and number 7 Heart-Burning Flame Lotus. There was no need to elaborate on Xiao Hua's strength. For a deviant flame to be ranked number 3, it was obvious what that meant. However, Xiao Hua had already said earlier on that the fiery man before him was extremely strong. Even Xiao Hua was wary of him. What did that mean? Longao was no fool. He seemed to have guessed something. You're the number 2 deviant flames, the Heaven Gloom Devil Flame? You're smart. The words of the fiery man had already verified Longao's guess. It was shocking. Longao knew clearly in his heart what the Heaven Gloom Devil Flame meant. Looking at the 23 deviant flames, other than the number 1 Chaos Flame that could suppress the Heaven Gloom Devil Flame, even Xiao Hua could not do so. No wonder Xiao Hua was wary of the other party. To think that the other party would be the Heaven Gloom Devil Flame. If I'm not wrong, you should be at half step to Dao validation. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. The Heaven Gloom Devil Flame suddenly burst out laughing maniacally. His laughter was filled with endless helplessness and vicissitudes. So what if I'm half step to Dao validation? It's still not the true Dao validation. As though he had thought of something, the Heaven Gloom Devil Flame continued, not only do you know of my identity, you even know of Dao validation and half-step Dao validation. Seems like you're the reincarnation of a powerful being. That's right. Nodding his head approvingly, the Heaven Gloom Devil Flame knew clearly that for the other party to be able to get Xiao Hua to follow him without fear, the other party should have been a chaos reincarnation martial artist before his reincarnation. No matter who you are, I advise you not to interfere in the matters of the Dao Tai. Otherwise, you should know what it means to be half-step to Dao validation. As a chaos reincarnation martial artist before his reincarnation, how could Longao not know what it meant to be half-step to Dao validation? Half-step to Dao validation meant that he had already come into contact with the Dao of chaos. Even if he was at the pinnacle of chaos reincarnation state, he would not be a match for a half-step to Dao validation. Especially now. Longao knew very well that even if he was at his peak, he might not be a match for the other party, let alone the current him. As for how much damage the heavenly quiet devil flame had suffered, he still didn't know. Since the other party was so concerned about the Dao Tai divine beast, could it be that Dao affirmation had something to do with the Dao Tai divine beast? I want to know the truth. You are not qualified. The heavenly demonic flame had already controlled the anger in his heart. Since the other party had Xiao Hua with him, he was unwilling to casually attack unless it was absolutely necessary. And the result? The other party was insatiable. Longao had already sensed the murderous aura released by the other party and knew that the other party had started to kill him. I want to know, who hurt you back then? At its peak, the Dark Sky Flame was a half-step Dao validation martial artist. Try asking. How many people in the entire Chaos Realm could seriously injure a half-step Dao validation cultivator, especially the heavenly demonic flame? I've already said that you don't have the right to know. For the sake of Xiaohua, you can leave this place. Remember, leave the heavenly devil abyss immediately, or else, the heavenly demonic flame's figure instantly disappeared. Although he didn't finish his words, the meaning of his words was very clear. He turned and left. Outside the cave, Longao's face was very gloomy and as ugly as it could be. He really didn't like being threatened, even if the other party was a half-step Dao validation heavenly demonic flame. However, things had already come to this, and if he didn't fight for it, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. In the sealed place. Seeing the other party return, Dao Tai said with a smile, "Boy, you want to play with me by retreating in order to advance? I think you've chosen the wrong person. I've already said that it's impossible to submit. If you can help me break the seal and leave here, then I can promise you one thing unconditionally. If it were anyone else who could get the help of the Daotai divine beast, they would probably laugh themselves to death. Only Longao wouldn't choose to accept. If he only wanted one condition, then why would he take such a risk? Angering the heavenly demonic flame wasn't a good thing. Daotai, I already know who sealed you back then. I'll still say the same thing. As long as you're willing to submit to me, I'll take you away. Otherwise, I can almost guarantee that you'll become a sacrifice on his path to Dao validation. Daotai was very shocked. Even he, the person involved, did not know what was going on. The other party had just entered, and in less than 10 days, he had already figured out who had sealed him. His intuition told him that this should be true. Who is it? The Daotai godly beast's body was filled with boundless anger. He really wanted to know who had sealed him back then. How could he not be angry if he was still confused? Why should I tell you? You dare to play with me? Daotai divine beast roared furiously, but Longao chose to ignore it. Daotai divine beast was no different from a cripple now. After roaring for a while, Daotai seemed to be tired of shouting, and seemed to feel that his anger was useless. He stared at the young man in front of him and asked, "Boy, I can take a step back. As long as you help me leave here, I can promise you that I'll protect you for 100 years. How about it?" "Ha ha ha, 100 years? 100 years." Longao sighed. If it wasn't for the seal, he believed that Daotai wouldn't be willing to agree even if he was beaten to death. It seemed that Daotai believed his words and wanted to leave here as soon as possible. The more it was like this, the more advantageous it was for him. With such a rare opportunity, how could Longao choose to give it up so easily? Even if he risked offending the heavenly demonic flame, he must subdue Daotai divine beast. Otherwise, he would have come here in vain. What do you want? Submit. Never backing down. In fact, Longao was taking advantage of the situation. However, this world was simply the law of the jungle. In Longao's view, there was nothing wrong with it as long as he could subdue Daotai divine beast. He believed that no matter who encountered this situation, they would make the same choice as him. There was no doubt about it. You're dreaming. Longao smiled and said indifferently, "If that's the case, then I won't accompany you. I hope you can be safe and sound." He turned around and left. Longao didn't want to talk nonsense. If Daotai wasn't willing to submit, then he didn't need to offend the heavenly demonic flame. This time, Longao really wanted to leave. Chapter 31-36. Daotai was really anxious. The other party was able to find out who sealed him in such a short period of time. It seemed that he could really help him leave this place. If he missed this opportunity, it would be impossible for him to leave in the future. Wait. He was delighted. It seemed that he had made the right bet by retreating in order to advance. In fact, Longao was not sure if the other party would really agree to his request. He turned around. Looking at the sealed divine beast Daotai, Longao smiled and said, "In the entire chaotic realm, only I can help you leave the seal. What do you want?" He asked the obvious. In the end, divine beast Daotai did not want to surrender. To surrender to a human warrior was a great humiliation to him. If it was any other time, he would not have agreed to such a ridiculous request. But at this moment, the situation was obviously different. "Surrender. I don't have time to waste with you." Longao did not know why the heaven's secret demon flame did not come. But in such a situation, the longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Chionyo was furious. "Daotai, who do you think you are? Boss is risking his life to help you leave this place and you are still dawdling here. Boss, let's go and let him die here." Not only Chionyo, but even Ju Ying and Xiao Hei were furious. Daotai was too arrogant. If Daotai was at his peak, he would be finished. But the current Daotai was not qualified at all. Longao was a little impatient. He really wanted to subdue Daotai, but the situation was very dangerous. Daotai's face became gloomier. In the end, "Longao, I can promise you, but you have to promise me 3 conditions. Otherwise, even if I die, I will not promise you. How about it?" "No problem." Hearing Daotai's words, Longao was delighted. To be able to subdue Daotai, There were only 3 conditions. To him, it was not something that he could not overcome. The first condition is that you have to help me prove my Tao. Sure. Longao had already thought about it. Once he succeeded in validating his Tao 10,000 years later, he would have to help Little Black and the other Chaos Divine Beasts succeed as well. If the Tao Tai chose to submit to him, then he would definitely help the Tao Tai attain the Tao. The second condition is that you have to avenge me. They were in big trouble. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already guessed that the other party would raise this condition. Strictly speaking, he had no enmity with the heavenly demonic flame, and if he did not enter the heavenly demonic abyss this time, perhaps they would never cross paths. However, he knew very well what it meant to deal with the heavenly demonic flame. Tao Tai also didn't speak and just stared fixedly. This was a condition that the other party had to agree to. He had been sealed by the other party in a daze. If he did not take revenge, he would not be able to take it lying down. Boss. Waving his hand, Longao had already guessed what Xiao Hei meant without waiting for him to say anything. Tao Tai, the person who sealed you is the heavenly ghost devil flame, ranked second among the 23 types of exotic flames. He's also a half-step Tao validation martial artist. Do you think we can take revenge? Even if Tao Tai could guess that the other party must be a super expert, he still didn't expect that the other party would actually be a half-step Tao validation martial artist and even an exotic flame. The heavenly ghost devil flame ranked second. After thinking about it, Tao Tai really couldn't figure out why the heavenly ghost devil flame wanted to seal him. Could it be that the heavenly ghost devil flame wanted to use him to validate his Tao? If that was the case, he was really scared. You have to agree to this condition. As a dignified divine beast of chaos, I actually chose to submit to you. Then you have to avenge me. Do you think this condition is too much? It was indeed not too much. After thinking about it, Longao nodded and said, no problem, but I can't do it now. Tao Tai of course knew what was going on. He nodded and said, I believe you. The third condition is that after I submit to you, once you beat up Chonyo, you are not allowed to help him. Okay. F***CK, with just you? Chonyo was completely furious. He never thought that the other party's third condition would be to beat him up. Even if his strength was really not as good as the other party, he wouldn't fall to the point of being beaten up. This was complete nonsense. Wasn't the other party a little too arrogant? Chonyo suppressed the anger in his heart. He also knew the seriousness of the matter. Tao Tai, you have to remember, don't resist. Okay. Taking a deep breath, Longao communicated with his chaotic Dantian and started to envelop the Tao Tai in front of him. In the next second, Tao Tie's figure instantly disappeared from the seal. Only Longao could do it. If it was someone else, they definitely wouldn't be able to do it. After sending Tao Tai into his chaotic Dantian, Longao's face suddenly changed. He had already noticed that there was an aura that shrouded this place. In the next second, it disappeared without a trace. The heavenly ghost devil flame didn't appear. It was just an aura. Inside the cave, the heavenly ghost devil flame's face was extremely gloomy. He never thought that the other party would really dare to pull out a tooth from the tiger's mouth. He was more curious about how the other party did it. He was very confident in his seal. Not to mention a puny god-emperor, even if it was a chaotic reincarnation, it wouldn't be easy to forcefully break his seal. In the seal, Longao was very curious. He didn't notice the aura that shrouded this place. Instead, it disappeared without a trace. What was going on? Under normal circumstances, he had already helped the Tao Tai escape. How could the heavenly ghost devil flame not do anything? It was simply impossible. After leaving the seal, boss, what should we do now? Not to mention Longao, even the others felt that something was wrong. How could the heavenly ghost devil flame choose to give up? The more they thought about it, the more impossible it seemed. At this moment, Xiao Hua's figure suddenly appeared and said in a very anxious tone, Boss, this place has been shrouded by a flame aura. You have to be careful. What did that mean? Longao and the others weren't fools. Of course, they knew what Xiao Hua meant. It seemed that it wasn't that the heavenly ghost devil flame didn't appear, but had controlled the entire heavenly devil abyss. If he wanted to leave, it wouldn't be easy. If that was the case, if he left rashly, he would definitely jump into the trap set by the heavenly ghost devil flame. Boss, why did the heavenly ghost devil flame seal me? Is it because he wants to prove his Tao? But I feel that this is unlikely. If it was possible, the heavenly ghost devil flame would have done it back then. Why wait until now? Chapter 31-37. Until now, Longao still could not figure out who it was that had severely injured the Heaven U demon flame. The strength of the Heaven U demon flame was there for all to see. A martial artist half a step into Tao validation was the pinnacle of existence in the chaos world. Lin Fan could not figure it out. He did not continue to dwell on this issue. The most important thing right now was to think of a way to leave this place. Little Flame, do you have any ideas? No. Chonyo and the other three were solemn as well. The might of a martial artist half a step into Tao validation was there for all to see. Even if they were at their peak, it would be hard for them to fight against such a powerful being. 10 Chaos God Beasts, Ju Ying, Zhu Yin, Pai Xiu, Chonyo, Dao Wu, Heaven Breaker Beast, Golden Bai Beast, 9-headed Dragon Python, Dao Tai, and Heaven Devouring Beast. Longao had already obtained Chonyo, Ju Ying, Heaven Devouring Beast, and Dao Tai. This was something that no one had ever done before. No one in the past or in the future. The moment the Chaos God Beast diagram gathered all 10 Chaos God Beasts, it would truly break through one's limits and reach unprecedented heights. If this were before, Longao would not even dare to think about it. But now, with the help of 4 Chaos God Beasts, he would be lying if he said that he did not want to. There were still 6 Chaos God Beasts left. Zhu Yin, Pai Xiu, Dao Wu, Heaven Breaker Beast, 9-headed Dragon Python, and Golden Bai Beast. Boss, what should we do now? Wait and see. Longao did not choose to leave. Instead, he returned to the cave. Looking at the young man who had suddenly returned, the Heaven U demon flame was surprised. He chuckled, I can't help but admire your courage and guts. No wonder Little Flame could accept you. But, how dare you interfere with Dao Tai's matters? He did not continue, but his expression said it all. Dao Tai is already mine. So, ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. He didn't care at all. Without waiting for Longao to continue speaking, the heavenly demonic flame sneered and said, You are really provoking me. Do you think that you can leave smoothly after subduing the Dao Tai? You can't keep me here. Looking at the other party who was full of confidence, the Heaven U demon flame did not feel so confident. If it were anyone else, the Heaven U demon flame would not be worried. Except for the other party. Someone who could be recognized by the flames of hell, and who could also save Dao Tai without anyone knowing, it was certainly unrealistic to say that the other party did not have anything to rely on. Subsequently, Tao Tie's figure appeared. Looking at the man in front of him, he asked, Why did you plot against me? Dao Tai was furious. Although half-step Dao validation experts were very powerful, it was impossible for them to forcibly suppress him. As the leader of the 10 great Chaos Divine Beasts, even if he hadn't reached half-step Dao validation, he was already at the peak of reincarnation realm. It was just that the other party had set up a trap, using the Dao to lead him into a trap. Dao Tai, if it weren't for the accident at that time, you would have been swallowed by me now, so you'd better shut up. You. After stopping the Dao Tai, Longao smiled and said, Heavenly demonic flame, I know what you mean, but I can tell you clearly that even if you devour the 10 chaotic divine beasts, you won't be able to prove your way, let alone devouring the Dao Tai. Before the heavenly demonic flame could speak, Longao continued, If you want to prove your way, the first thing you have to do is break the rules of the great Dao of chaos, and not simply devour power and break it by force. You should understand what I'm saying. Staring at the man in front of him, the heavenly demonic flame didn't speak, because in his heart, he more or less believed the other party's words. Believing was one thing, but doing was another. I can help you prove your way. Dao Tai was furious when he heard his boss's words. But before Dao Tai could speak, Blackie had already said, If boss can subdue the heavenly demonic flame, you can beat him up however you want. What do you think? I hope so. Dao Tai didn't believe that Longao could deal with the other party at all. It was complete nonsense. The heavenly demonic flame was ranked second among the strange flames, and he was a half-step Tao validation expert. How could he choose to submit to Longao? You! The heavenly demonic flame looked at the young man in front of him as if he was looking at a fool. He didn't know why the other party was so arrogant and dared to say that he could help him prove his way. In the entire chaotic realm, who would dare to say that? Who could do it? The heavenly demonic flame didn't know Longao at all, nor did he know that Longao had created the 9-revolution chaos formula. In his opinion, the other party was just fooling him and wanted to leave with Dao Tai. Thinking of this, the heavenly demonic flame's murderous aura enveloped the entire cave. He had already warned the other party, but in the end, the other party didn't take him seriously at all. Not only did he intervene, but he even subdued Dao Tai, which was completely provoking him. Putting aside the matter of face. Although he knew that he couldn't succeed in proving his way even if he devoured Taoche's power, he still wanted to try. Ever since he came into contact with the Tao of Chaos, he had always been a half-step Tao validation expert, unable to take the final step. Heavenly demonic flame, you should have seen it. Not only did I gather the heavenly devouring beast, divine beast Juying, divine beast Dao Tai, and divine beast Chonyo, but I even got Xiaohua's approval. The heavenly demonic flame didn't say anything. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it was true. A human martial artist could subdue 4 divine beasts of chaos at the same time, and even get Xiaohua's approval. This was almost impossible. A flame suddenly appeared in Longao's palm. Heart-burning lotus. Looking at the strange flame in the other party's palm, the heavenly demonic flame was completely stunned. Even if he was beaten to death, he didn't expect that not only did the other party get the approval of 4 divine beasts of chaos, but he also had the heart-burning lotus. The heart-burning lotus was ranked 7th. In this case, Longao had 4 divine beasts of chaos and 2 strange flames. What kind of concept was this? If you are willing to follow me, I can guarantee that after 10,000 years, I will definitely help you prove your way. Blackie continued, my boss is very talented. Back then, he created the 9-revolution chaos formula and is the most likely person to prove his way. Heavenly demonic flame, I still advise you. If you don't want to die in the end, then follow my boss. You will definitely be able to prove your way in the future. The heavenly demonic flame definitely didn't believe it. In his opinion, maybe the other party was really strange, but it was still a bit of nonsense to want to prove his way. If the other party could prove his way, why would he wait until now? He would have succeeded long ago. As if he could guess the other party's thoughts, Longao didn't say any more nonsense and kept the heart-burning lotus in his chaotic dantian. Before the other party could ask, another flame appeared in his palm, emitting an endless chaotic aura. Chapter 31-38. Heavenly Flame. Another kind of heavenly flame? If this kind of heavenly flame was added, wouldn't it mean that Longao had a total of 3 types of heavenly flame? 3 types of heavenly flame and 4 chaos divine beasts. Longao could no longer be described as heaven-defying, he was simply a monster. Even the heavenly demonic flame was a little dumbfounded. How did the other party do it? Even if he saw it with his own eyes, he was still a little unwilling to believe it. However, the heavenly demonic flame stared at the flame on Longao's finger, as if sensing something, and roared in horror, you actually got the flame of chaos. Flame of chaos? Hearing the words flame of chaos, except for Xiao Hei, the rest of the Chonyo and the others were shocked, because they all knew very well what the flame of chaos meant. The flame of chaos was ranked first among the 23 types of heavenly flame. They had never heard of anyone who could subdue the flame of chaos. Was this for real? They looked at their boss in a daze. They had seen powerful people, but they had never seen such a powerful person. They were very excited. Everyone knew very well what it meant for their boss to get 3 types of heavenly flame. How did you do it? The heavenly demonic flame was very shocked. He really wanted to know how the other party did it. It was already unbelievable that Xiao Hua and the burning heart flame lotus chose to follow the other party, but now there was the flame of chaos, a total of 3 types of heavenly flame. The other party actually took out a total of 3 types of heavenly flame. It was too terrifying. Whether or not I got the flame of chaos has nothing to do with you. I just want to tell you that with the help of 3 types of heavenly flame and 4 chaos divine beasts, I am confident that after 10,000 years, I can succeed in proving my Tao. Longao hadn't said anything about his 9 revolution chaos mantra and chaotic sacred body. The heavenly demonic flame shook his head. Even so, I won't believe you. If he believed it, then he wouldn't be the heavenly demonic flame. As if he had already guessed the other party's thoughts, Longao smiled and said, "One last thing, this is all I can do. Whether you agree or not, it's up to you." Just when the heavenly demonic flame was curious and didn't know what confidence the other party had, a small tree appeared in Longao's hand. Chaos tree? He kept retreating. 3 heavenly flames and 4 chaos divine beasts. Now, there was even a chaos tree. How did they do it? This time, the heavenly demonic flame was completely stunned. He really couldn't figure out just how many more things the other party had. Heavenly demonic flame, as long as you follow me, after 10,000 years, you and I will help each other and attain our Tao together. How about that? Submit. No, it's not submission. Not submitting? If it wasn't submission, what was it? How could Longao not know what the heavenly devil flame was thinking? After thinking for a while, he said, "Xiao Hei and the others are all my friends. There's no such thing as submitting or not submitting." The heavenly devil flame fell completely silent. The other party had too much confidence, especially the primal chaos flame and the primal chaos tree. They had appeared on the same person at the same time. He would not believe that there was nothing fishy about it even if he was beaten to death. Agree. Even if I promise you, I can't leave the heavenly devil abyss. Why? Longao had already guessed that the heavenly devil flame was definitely unable to leave this place. There was something fishy going on, it was just that he wanted to know before, but the other party was unwilling to tell him. It was just as Longao had guessed. If it was before, the heavenly devil flame would definitely not say a word, but now it was different. After seeing the other party's confidence, the heavenly devil flame was really shocked. Back then, ever since I broke through to the half-step Tao validation realm, I thought of countless ways to truly reach the Tao validation realm. It's just that it's easier said than done. Longao nodded in agreement. When he created the 9 revolution chaos formula, he did not succeed in reaching the Tao validation realm. From this, one could imagine how difficult it was to reach the Tao validation realm. You already know what happened later. When I planned to suppress Tao Tai and was about to devour the other party, I was suddenly seriously injured by the heavenly devil abyss. I haven't been able to recover yet. Huh? What was going on? Seriously injured by the heavenly devil abyss? Longao had guessed countless possibilities, but he had never thought that it would be such a result. Although the heavenly devil abyss was one of the primal chaos forbidden lands, it seemed impossible to forcibly attack a half-step Tao validation realm martial artist. What was going on? Was there something fishy about the heavenly devil abyss? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, the heavenly devil flame said, "Not to mention you, even I don't know what's going on. Why did the heavenly devil abyss take the initiative to attack me? At that time, I didn't even have a chance to resist." Nodding, Longao already knew what the heavenly devil flame meant. Even if the other party wanted to leave with him, it seemed that he could not leave the heavenly devil abyss. In the end, the heavenly devil abyss sealed the heavenly devil flame, which was indeed a troublesome matter. If the heavenly devil flame chose to submit to him like Tao Tai, it was completely conceivable that the other party would not agree. If he did not choose to do so, it would be almost impossible to leave with the heavenly devil flame. After thinking about it, Longao finally said, "If you trust me, you can go first." Waving his hand, the heavenly devil flame naturally knew what the other party wanted to say. He said coldly, "Impossible, I'd rather stay here forever than choose to submit to you." The heavenly devil flame was not a fool. If he really chose to submit to the other party, then when the time came, he would not be able to control his own life and death. He would never do something that he was not confident in. He sighed deeply in his heart. If he did not do this, he would not be able to take the heavenly devil flame away. Longao also had a helpless expression. However, Xiao He was angered and said coldly, "Heaven, you devil flame, who do you think you are? It's your fortune that my boss has taken a fancy to you. I can tell you clearly that even without you, we can still prove our Tao in 10,000 years. If you follow my boss, then you'll be taking advantage of him. If you don't choose to submit to my boss, you won't be able to enter his chaotic dantian. If that's the case, how can my boss take you away from here? You're really interesting, as if my boss is begging you. If you want to leave, then leave. If you don't want to leave, then stay here forever. When the time comes, don't talk about proving your Tao, you'd better pray that you don't get devoured by others." Longao did not stop Xiao He. In his view, the Heaven You Devil Flame was indeed a little too arrogant. In the current situation, it was obvious that he was helping the other party, but the other party was dilly-dallying again and again, as if he was the one begging him. Longao did not dislike this feeling. Even if he wanted to subdue the Heaven You Devil Flame in front of him, if it was really impossible, he would not continue to persist. The Heaven You Devil Flame's expression was very ugly. Chapter 31-39. How should he choose? Choosing to submit, he was really a little unwilling. The Heaven You Devil Flame did not know what kind of person Longao was. If he casually chose to submit, he would really have no chance at all. If he did not choose to submit, it was almost impossible to leave this place. He was in a dilemma. Longao did not urge him at all, and just waited quietly. Time flew. After an unknown amount of time. Is there no other way? Longao almost laughed out loud. In the end, the other party was still unwilling to submit to him and was not willing to take the risk. He shrugged helplessly and said, "I don't know what's going on in the Heavenly Devil Abyss, so if I want to take you away, I can only enter my chaotic dantian, just like the Daotai beast." Longao's meaning was very clear, that was, if he wanted to leave, he could only choose to submit. In fact, even if there were other ways, Longao might not take them out. Following and submitting were two completely different concepts. If he took the risk, it was impossible not to fight for the greatest benefits. There was no doubt about it. He would never back down. If the Heaven You Devil Flame could choose to submit, Longao would be pleasantly surprised. In that case, he would have the help of 4 chaotic divine beasts and 4 types of heavenly flames. Looking at the entire Chaos Realm, there was almost no one who could do this, and Longao was the only one. "Okay, I promise you." After thinking about it, the Heaven You Devil Flame was still prepared to leave this place. Who knew what the consequences would be if he continued to stay? Just as Longao had guessed. As soon as the Heaven You Devil Flame chose to submit, Longao immediately brought the Heaven You Devil Flame into the chaotic dantian. The next second, the aura of the entire Heavenly Devil Abyss began to soar, like a huge whirlpool, engulfing the entire Heavenly Devil Abyss. What the hell happened? Entering the chaotic dantian, the Heaven You Devil Flame did not know what was going on outside, but the moment he entered, he suddenly felt that there was a change outside, so he asked impatiently. A very terrifying aura enveloped the area. "Even if it's you, you will be suppressed again." Huh! Even though he had already guessed it, the Heavenly Demonic Flame was still a little scared. It seemed that the Heavenly Demonic Abyss was not simple. Fortunately, he had chosen to follow the other party. Otherwise, he did not dare to imagine what the consequences would be. "Wait here, I'll go out and take a look." Why bother? If it was before, the Heaven You Demonic Flame wouldn't care about the other party's life or death. But now, the situation was completely different. How could Longao not know what the Heavenly You Devil Flame meant? Without saying anything, Longao's figure left and appeared in the Heavenly Devil Abyss. The Heavenly Fiend Abyss was now completely shrouded in endless demonic chi. Huge vortexes that could destroy the heavens and the earth looked terrifying. Array formation? Longao finally knew that there was such a super formation hidden in the Heavenly Devil Abyss. Even with his level of formations, he was shocked. One could imagine how terrifying this formation was. Mo Wu Tian? Longao did not linger. He did not want Wu Tian to discover him. If this were 10,000 years from now, or when he was at his peak, he would not be afraid. But now, it was not the right time to confront the demon god. As soon as Longao disappeared, Mo Wu Tian and Judas arrived. Mo Wu-tian's face was extremely gloomy, as ugly as it could get. He never imagined that the heavenly devil abyss, which he had spent countless years setting up, would have someone come to cause trouble, and even take away the Dao Tai and the heavenly demonic flame. Wu-tian Mo had been prepared to subdue the Dao Tai and the heavenly demonic flame, but he did not have the slightest confidence. After all, whether it was the heavenly demonic flame or the Dao Tai, they were lofty existences. How could they so casually choose to submit? In this case, Wu-tian Mo could delay the time until he was at his peak. Then, with the power of the array, he could make the heavenly demonic flame and the Dao Tai yield. His chances of success would be much higher. Wu-tian Mo had spent countless years setting up this array. He had spent a great deal of time and effort to draw the heavenly demonic flame into the heavenly demonic flame, and even had a pleasant surprise in the form of the Dao Tai. But now, he had no idea what was going on. Wu-tian Mo racked his brains, but still couldn't figure out who was behind all this. Who in the entire primordial chaos could do such a thing? Inside his chaotic dantian. What's going on? I know who it is. Longao did not expect the heavenly devil abyss to be a trap dug by Wu-tian Mo. But after thinking about it, it made sense. Wu-tian Mo had something to do with such a terrifying demonic aura. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't believe it. Strong indeed. If it were anyone else, they would not have been able to pull this off. Who is it? The heavenly demonic flame's anger exploded. He wanted to know who had set him up. If not for Longao's timely appearance, it was easy to imagine what would have happened. He could not figure out who in the entire primordial chaos could do such a thing. After all, he was a half-step vindication cultivator. Even a peak primordial chaos reincarnation realm cultivator would not dare to casually deal with him. It was utter nonsense. How could Longao not know what the heavenly demonic flame was thinking? He said, Mo Wu-tian, under normal circumstances, even with the help of the Dao Tai, he would not be your opponent. Even if it was a trap, the heavenly devil abyss itself is a place where demonic aura is concentrated. To deal with you, Mo Wu-tian set up a super array. At this point, Longao did not continue, but the meaning of his words was clear. The heavenly demonic flame was not a fool. Of course, he knew what Longao meant. This was a plot against him. I don't know Mo Wu-tian. Not knowing Mo Wu-tian, but knowing the Dao Tai, the heavenly demonic flame could not figure out why the other party wanted to deal with him. Why would he dare to deal with him? After all, if there was a slight mistake, the consequences would be obvious. Was the other party tired of living? He could not figure it out. Heavenly demonic flame, according to my guess, if nothing unexpected happens, Mo Wu-tian is taking such a risk to deal with you because he wants to subdue you and the Dao Tai to help him reach vindication. Dao validation was almost impossible. Longao knew very well that Mo Wu-tian was just giving it a try. However, even if he was in Mo Wu-tian's shoes, he would not give up so easily even if there was only a sliver of hope. After all, in the chaos reincarnation cycle, even a half-step Dao validation was not truly immortal and indestructible. In the end, one would still disappear in the chaos realm. If one wanted to be truly immortal, there was only one way, and that was to succeed in vindication. Chapter 3140. I'm going to kill Mo Wu-tian. Longao shook his head. Don't worry, you'll get your revenge one day. The most important thing now is to recover from your injuries. The heavenly demonic flame's injuries were very serious, and no one knew when he would recover. He was furious. But what could he do now? If he couldn't recover from his injuries and tried to take revenge, he would only die. The heavenly demonic flame was very clear about the current situation and looked at the chaos tree in front of him. Before the heavenly demonic flame could speak, Longao said, all of you stay here and cultivate. I believe that with the help of the chaos tree, your injuries will recover quickly. Mo Wu-tian is dead meat. The heavenly demonic flame smiled. For the first time, he realized that cooperating with this person was not a bad thing. Longao did not leave immediately. If he appeared now, wouldn't it be telling Mo Wu-tian that he was the one who did it? It was still the same sentence. Under such circumstances, it was not time to completely fall out with Mo Wu-tian. If he was alone, it would not matter at all. He had to consider everything for the family. Heavenly Devil Abyss. Boss, what should we do now? What should we do? Mo Wutian suppressed the endless anger in his heart. He knew that since the other party could do it without anyone noticing, and even avoid his formation, his identity was definitely not simple. It was very likely that he was another half-step Dao validation expert. As for why the other party did not deal with him, he did not know. But since the other party had succeeded, he would definitely not stay. He had already used the formation to cover the entire Heavenly Devil Abyss, and did not find anything wrong. What did this mean? Without a doubt, the other party must have left the Heavenly Devil Abyss. Even if he continued to lock on, it would be futile. Endless anger. Endless murderous intent. He had painstakingly planned for so many years, and was even prepared to rely on subduing the heavenly demonic flame and the Daotai divine beast to reach Dao validation. But now, everything was for naught. It's all our fault for being careless. We'll stay here and cultivate for now. Hearing Mo Wutian's words, Longao was depressed. Since the man and beast had chosen to stay and cultivate, he did not need to ask to know how to leave the Heavenly Devil Abyss. As long as he appeared, he would definitely be locked on by the formation. At that time, once Mo Wutian found out that he was the culprit, he could imagine the consequences. What should he do? Longao did not have a good solution for the time being. He could only stay in his chaotic Dantian and cultivate. The Chaos Tree released endless life force. Regardless of whether it was the Chaos Divine Beasts or the Heavenly Flames, they all benefited greatly from devouring the life force. As for Longao, he did not feel anything at all. He had successfully broken through to the Peak God Emperor realm. If he wanted to continue to break through, or even reach the Peak God Ancestor realm, he would need to swallow a huge amount of energy. It was easy to imagine how much energy one needed to devour to break through to the next realm. Where would he go to devour? He felt helpless. He felt even more depressed. Boss, there's something I need to talk to you about. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Little Black wanted to say, but he still walked to the side and asked, "What's wrong? What happened?" Blackie thought for a while and said, "Boss, I wouldn't have done this in the past. Now that you have 4 chaotic divine beasts around you, including me, why don't we get rid of all the other chaotic divine beasts in one go? Then, you'll be able to upgrade the Chaos Divine Beast diagram." He chuckled. Blackie's meaning was very clear. How could Longao not understand? The Chaos Divine Beast diagram could only be considered as a powerful Chaos Divine weapon. However, it would be a different concept to gather the 10 chaotic divine beasts. It was easy to think about, but difficult to do. It was almost impossible. Was it possible to gather the 10 chaotic divine beasts? Blackie, I know what you mean. But it's almost impossible to gather the other 6 chaotic divine beasts. Blackie smiled and said, "Boss, before this, do you dare to think that you can subdue Qiu Ju Ying, and Dao Tai?" It was unimaginable. Not to mention subduing the 3 chaotic divine beasts at the same time, even subduing one of them would be a blessing in disguise. Be that as it may. Boss, you won't know if you don't try. You can start with the 9-headed dragon python for the other 6 chaotic divine beasts. It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. However, the 9-headed dragon python had helped him before. It would be unkind of him to scheme against the 9-headed dragon python now. Blackie seemed to be able to guess what his boss was thinking. He said helplessly, "Boss, strictly speaking, subduing the 9-headed dragon python is not harming him, but helping him. After 10,000 years, you will help him attain Dao. At that time, he will be very grateful to you." This excuse was a little far-fetched. However, Longao also knew that there was no need to make trade-offs. Since he had the Chaos Divine Beast diagram and the 4 chaotic divine beasts, he would be letting himself down if he did not work hard. Longao nodded and said, "In that case, I will give it a try. But the first one will not be the 9-headed dragon python. It will be the Judas." Ah! Blackie was a little confused and said, "Boss, the Judas has been following Mo Wutian for a long time. Isn't it a little unrealistic for you to subdue the Judas? If he waited 10,000 years and recovered to his peak, he might have a chance. But now, it was a little too ridiculous." His boss was thinking too much. Longao smiled and said, "You said a lot just now. How can we know if we don't try? Maybe we can really succeed." Longao told everyone his idea. The heavenly demonic flame and the others were completely stunned. It was really crazy. However, unlike Blackie, everyone expressed their support. The more crazy it was, the more they liked it. Especially since they had already chosen to submit to Longao. Of course, they hoped that Longao would be able to gather the 10 chaotic divine beasts. Such a grand feat had never been done before. "Longao, after you leave the heavenly demonic abyss, I will take you to a few places. I have subdued a few mystical flames, I will give them to you." "Thank you." Longao was pleasantly surprised. Of course, Longao knew what the heavenly demonic flame mentioned meant. There were a total of 23 kinds of heavenly fire in the chaotic world, and each kind of heavenly fire was incomparably heaven-defying. Not to mention waiting for the seed of the heavenly fire, even if he could only casually obtain one of the heavenly fire, it would be a blessing in disguise. Longao also did not expect that the heavenly demonic flame would give him a few mystical flames. It was like a meat pie falling from the sky. How could he not be excited? Chapter 3141. Mo Wutian seemed ready to linger for a long time. Longao was ready to tame the candle beast. It was a crazy move. No one else would do such a thing. The way Longao saw it, whether or not he could prove his Tao, he had to kill Mo Wutian. There was no doubt about that. Mo Wutian dared to chase after Shuang. If he hadn't arrived in time, Shuang would have been dead. Just thinking about it made him shudder. Because of this, Mo Wutian had to die. However, with the current situation, he was unable to kill Mo Wutian. One day, he would personally bring Mo Wutian's corpse to Shuang. When he thought of Shuang, Longao felt a deep sense of guilt. It was all because of him. Otherwise, Shuang wouldn't have ended up like this. What should he do? It was indeed not an easy task to tame the divine beast Zhu Yin under Mo Wutian's nose. If he made the slightest mistake, he'd go for wool and come home shorn. "Tell me, what should I do to tame the Zhu Yin divine beast?" Chonyo, Zhu Ying, Blackie, and Dao Tai were all chaos beasts. Like the candle beast, they were the most suitable to ask. How could they not know what their boss meant? "Boss, the candle beast is the weakest of the chaos beasts." Longao already knew what Blackie was saying. Among the 10 divine beasts of chaos, the Dao Tai divine beast should be the strongest, while the candle shadow divine beast should be the weakest. However, the weakest was relative, especially under such circumstances. Longao didn't speak. He just listened. Dao Tai spoke up. "Boss, if you really want to take the risk, there is a way." "What way?" Longao's heart leapt with joy at Tao Tie's words. He couldn't wait to ask. Not to mention Longao, even the others were very curious. What kind of good method did the Dao Tai divine beast have to subdue the Zhu Yin divine beast? After all, in this situation, it had to be done in secret. "Zhu Ying, if I'm not mistaken, you and the candle beast are close. If that's the case, use your spiritual sense to lure Zhu Yin away. If persuasion works, that's the best outcome. If it doesn't work, then use your fists to beat him into submission." Zhu Ying smiled. Chonyo also smiled. Little Hei and Longao also smiled. If Judas had been at his peak, this would have been troublesome. But now, his situation was similar to Zhu Ying's. 1 against 4, plus himself. Would the Zhu Yin divine beast be able to withstand it? There was no doubt about it. Zhu Ying concealed all of his aura and left his chaotic dantian. At this point, Mo Wutian had already let down his guard. In his opinion, the other party must have already left the heavenly devil abyss, and there was no point in continuing to activate the formation. Carelessness killed people. Judas, who had been cultivating beside Wutian, was shocked to hear someone speak to him through telepathy. Zhu Ying. His relationship with Zhu Ying was indeed not bad. Looking at Mo Wutian beside him, he said, "Boss, I have some matters to attend to. I'll be back later." Yes. Even if you beat Wutian to death, he would never have guessed that someone would dare to target Judas, especially in Celestial Devil's Abyss. Far far away. Zhu Ying, how did you get into Celestial Devil's Abyss? Do you have something to do with Dao Tai and the Caspian demonic flame? Judas was no fool, and he immediately guessed what was going on. However, he didn't know that Zhu Ying had been subdued by Longao. Zhu Ying smiled. Let me introduce you. This is my boss, Longao. Longao, Dao Tai, and the others appeared behind him. How could Judas not recognize Longao? He was shocked and surprised. He never would have guessed that Zhu Ying would choose to serve Longao. It wasn't just Zhu Ying, either. Dao Tai and Qiu Niu had chosen to serve Longao as well. What was going on? Absolute shock. Zhu Ying, what is the meaning of this? A bad feeling crept into his heart. If he'd known this would happen, he wouldn't have left his boss. With the protection of the Matrix, even Longao wouldn't dare act rashly. What Judas couldn't figure out was how Longao had done it. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it was real. Judas, a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. Wutian demon is not your home. I advise you to submit to my boss. 10,000 years from now, we will prove our path together. What do you say? Although he'd guessed as much, Judas was still furious. Zhu Ying, you and I used to be friends. I never thought you would be such a shameless bastard. You want me to betray my boss and join you. Before Judas could finish, Dao Tai waved his hand impatiently. If you don't want to, that's your business. As long as we continue, that's our business. If you don't want to, then don't blame us for being rude. Fists speak louder than words. Longao and the others had already guessed that Judas wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Things had already come to this point, so they had to subdue him. And the best way to do that was to beat him into submission. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Following his laughter, the space around them began to distort, and tornadoes began to swirl around them. The array was activated once more. Longao and the others' faces changed. They couldn't figure out how Mo Wutian had found out. But since things had already gotten to this point, they couldn't continue. Otherwise, the losses would outweigh the gains. Longao and the others disappeared without a trace. A second later, Wutian Mo appeared. He seemed to have guessed something, and his voice was cold as he asked, Zhu Yin, what happened? Judas didn't try to hide anything. He recounted everything that had transpired. The more he listened, the darker his face became. Even if Wutian was beaten to death, he would never have guessed that Dragon Ao was behind all of this. Previously, he and Longao had already made an agreement that the two of them would not interfere with each other. But now, Longao had violated the agreement and forcefully destroyed his good deed. He was simply courting death. Longao, I know you're here. Since you're here, show yourself. Wutian Mo had barely finished speaking when Longao's figure appeared. He looked at Wutian Mo with a smile. Wutian Mo, long time no see. I hope you've been well. Longao, you broke our agreement and ruined my plans. How should we deal with this? Wutian Mo suppressed the anger in his heart. He didn't have the slightest confidence that he'd be able to keep Judas here. After all, everyone knew he had a chaotic Dantian. First, he'd deal with him later. Chapter 3142. I don't know. He pushed the blame away. Longao really didn't know. If not for Wutian Mo's sudden arrival, he would never have guessed the man was responsible for the destruction of the celestial demon pool. Hand over the Dao Tai and the Caspian demonic flame, and we'll call it quits. What do you say? Wutian Mo didn't want to break all pretense of cordiality with Longao unless absolutely necessary. Longao knew exactly what Wutian Mo meant. He smiled. Wutian Mo, I'm sorry, but the Caspian demonic flame and the Dao Tai are now my brothers. Do you really think I'd hand them over to you? Endless rage. Wutian Mo fought back his rage. Longao, are you playing with fire? Is that so? You have to remember your family. He waved a hand. Without waiting for Mo Wutian to finish speaking, Longao said impatiently, Enough, Mo Wutian. There's no need to hide what you and I are thinking. If this were before, Longao might have been wary. But now, things were different. Soaring Dragon's galaxy had 9 chaos tunnels. He'd already destroyed 8, and the last one was well hidden. He didn't believe Wu Tianmo would be able to find it. Longao, are you determined to make me your enemy? Farewell. Longao's figure vanished, but he didn't leave. Instead, he entered his chaotic dantian. Boss, are we just going to let it go? Let it go. Even if I don't reach the Dao, I'll kill this shameless bastard. Wu Tianmo was furious. He activated the array. But now, Mo Wu Tian's expression changed as he shouted in terror, Zhu Yin, quickly protect me. Boss, what's wrong? Judas jumped in fright. He didn't know what was wrong with his boss, but he could sense that his boss was in a terrible state. The demonic energy inside him was in chaos. I've been attacked by the demonic energy of the celestial demon pool. The backlash of demonic qi was no small matter. Even Mo Wu Tian could not ignore it. If he was not careful, he would be completely corroded by the demonic qi. At that time, there would only be two outcomes. One was to enter the reincarnation cycle, and the other was to die. When Judas heard the words demonic backlash, he froze. He knew what that meant, and immediately went to stand guard. Inside his chaotic dantian. Wu Tianmo. Boss, why don't you just kill Mo Wu Tian? Blackie and the rest were very curious. Now that Mo Wu Tian was being devoured by the demonic qi, it was the best time to kill him. But what was the result? Boss didn't do that at all and chose to leave instead. He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. Blackie, I know what you're thinking. Strictly speaking, Wu Tianmo's demonic energy backlash is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If this were any other place, I wouldn't have let it go so easily. Blackie and the others listened quietly. Their curiosity was piqued. Based on the grudge between their boss and Wu Tianmo, their boss would most likely want to see him fall. Something fishy was going on here. The celestial demon pool is one of the forbidden zones of chaos. Wu Tianmo used its demonic energy to set up the array. He used it against the Skylight Demon and the Dao Tai. Now he's being attacked. If we try to force our way in, the demonic energy will eat away at us. Longao could clearly sense how terrifying the demonic aura in the heavenly devil abyss was. Once it was forcibly eroded, one could imagine what the result would be. Boss, what should we do now? Dragonkind. Since they decided to gather the 10 chaos beasts, Longao didn't hesitate. Since he didn't succeed in subduing the Judas, his next target was the 9-headed dragon python. Blackie and the others had already guessed it, but they didn't think too much about it. After all, they hoped that their boss could subdue the other chaos beasts. That would be a good thing for them. 3 months later. Second Sky, Demon Palace. Looking at the sudden appearance of the old master, Mo Wufeng was shocked. However, he quickly bowed respectfully. Old master, why have you returned? Mo Wutian's face was extremely gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get. He had spent countless years to arrange everything, but it had been ruined by Longao. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't angry. Whether it was the heavenly devil flame or the divine beast Dao Tai, they were all high and mighty existences in the chaos world. If he could subdue them, he'd be invincible even if he couldn't prove his Dao in the future. But now, that was impossible. Everything was ruined by Longao. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Wu Tianmo said coldly, from now on, lock onto Longao's location. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Remember, mobilize the entire demon palace. What was going on? Why did the old ancestor suddenly want to deal with Longao? Previously, the old ancestor didn't want him to deal with Longao. This was the reason why Longao was confused. He didn't know what was going on, but he didn't dare to ask. After all, the old ancestor's face was very dark. Who knew if he'd be implicated? But this time, before Mo Wufeng could ask, Wu Tianmo said, Longao has ruined my plans. From this simple sentence, Mo Wufeng already knew that something must have happened between the old ancestor and Longao. He didn't dare to hesitate and said, Old ancestor, I'll do it now. Go. The demon palace suddenly released a shocking news, and that was the order to kill. The entire demon palace's power was unimaginable. This time, the demon palace had completely exploded. As for the reason, No one knew. Could it be because of the previous incident? Didn't the Demon Palace choose to give up? However, countless people believed that the Devil Palace had locked onto Longao's position in such a frenzied manner. It was almost impossible for Longao to fight against the entire Devil Palace with his own strength. Strictly speaking, the Demon Palace's strength was inferior to the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance. After all, no matter if it was the Pill Hall or the Domain Lords Alliance, their forces were spread across the entire Chaos world. However, the Demon Palace couldn't do so. After all, the Chaos world still had some conflicts with the Demon Palace. Because of this, it was not easy for the Devil Palace to lock onto the position of a person in the 99 heavens domains of the Chaos realm. Even if it was the Devil Palace, if Longao really hid, then it would be more and more difficult to lock onto him. Chapter 3143. The Demon Palace's madness shook the entire Chaos realm. On the other hand, Longao ignored the Demon Palace. Longao had already guessed that after the incident in the Heavenly Devil Abyss, if nothing unexpected happened, Mo Wutian would definitely not let the matter rest. The Dragon Clan was one of the most powerful clans in the Chaos realm. Everyone knew. The ancestor of the Dragon Clan, the nine-headed dragon python, was one of the 10 Chaos divine beasts. However, many years ago, no one knew what had happened, but the nine-headed dragon python had suddenly disappeared, and the Dragon Clan had also disappeared. This was a secret of the Chaos realm. However, Longao knew that the nine-headed dragon python and the Dragon Clan disappeared because the nine-headed dragon python wanted to prove his Tao. The failure of proving his Tao destroyed the entire Dragon Clan. Longao, what's the matter? As soon as Longao arrived at the Dragon Clan, he was enveloped by dragon blood and instantly appeared in a huge space. There was a nine-headed dragon in front of him. It was the ancestor of the Dragon Clan, one of the 10 Chaos divine beasts, the nine-headed dragon python. Dragon python, I came here this time mainly to discuss something with you. Tell me about it. Ever since the nine-headed dragon python failed to prove his Tao, his vitality had been greatly damaged. It was almost the same as the heavenly devil flame. Otherwise, the nine-headed dragon python would not have to hide here. I want you to follow me in the future. 10,000 years later, we will prove our Tao together. Before the nine-headed dragon python could speak, 4 figures appeared beside Longao. They were the divine beast Dao Tai, Blackie, Ju Ying, and divine beast Chonyo. Of course, the nine-headed dragon python knew that Xiao He and Longao were together. However, when he saw the other 3 chaos divine beasts beside Longao, his expression changed. He could not figure out why Chonyo, Dao Tai, and Ju Ying would choose to follow Longao. Even if Longao was talented and created the 9 revolution chaos technique, it did not seem to be necessary for 3 chaos divine beasts to follow him. Including the sky-swallowing divine beast, it would be 4 chaos divine beasts. What did that mean? Longao, even if they follow you, do you think I will be the same as them? It was a disgrace for the ancestor of the Dragon Clan to choose to submit to a human martial artist. How could he agree to something like that? Nonsense. Longao smiled and took out all 4 heavenly flames. This was Longao's trump card. 4 chaotic divine beasts and 4 heavenly flames were enough to intimidate the 9-headed dragon python. As expected. When the 9-headed dragon python saw the 4 types of alien flames and 4 types of chaos divine beasts, he was thoroughly shocked. Even so, he still couldn't figure out why Longao wanted him to follow him. Dragon python, to be honest, 10,000 years later is the key to the transformation of the great Tao of chaos. If we are unable to prove our Tao, then we will either be reincarnated or die. I believe you have sensed it. He didn't say anything. How could the 9-headed dragon python not understand what Longao meant? If one failed to corroborate one's Tao, one could almost predict the result 10,000 years later. It was either reincarnation or death. Most likely, the chances of them dying were higher. No one was willing to die, including the 9-headed dragon python. Thinking of this, can you really help me corroborate my Tao? He was elated. Longao smiled and said, Dragon python, you have failed to corroborate your Tao and your injuries are so serious. There is almost no hope for you to recover 10,000 years later. However, I have already obtained the number 1 sacred item in the Chaos Realm, the Chaos Tree. You can cultivate beside the Chaos Tree. I believe your injuries will recover quickly. When the time comes, Longao didn't continue. However, the meaning in his words was clear. He was completely stunned. He knew better than anyone what the Chaos Tree meant. As the number 1 divine item in the Chaos Realm, the Chaos Tree had been sought after by countless people over the years, but no one had been able to obtain it. At this moment, the 9-headed dragon python finally knew why the 4 chaotic divine beasts and the 4 types of heavenly flames wanted to follow Longao. Sure. Longao also didn't react. He didn't expect the 9-headed dragon python to be so straightforward. It seems like his luck was really good. However, Longao was even more clear in his heart that since he obtained the primal Chaos Tree, everything seemed to have changed. Could it be the Chaos Tree? He seemed to have thought of something, but Longao wasn't sure. Little Hay and the others also didn't expect things to be so simple, but the 9-headed dragon python didn't say anything. The 9-headed dragon python's meaning was obvious. According to his current injuries, there was almost no hope for him to recover 10,000 years later. He didn't want to see either reincarnation or death. He might as well choose to follow Longao. A person who could obtain the Chaos Tree and had 4 chaotic divine beasts and 4 types of heavenly flames following him. He knew what it meant. Maybe he really had a chance to corroborate his Tao. After dealing with the 9-headed dragon python, the heavenly devil flame said with a smile, "Longao, I am more and more confident that you will be able to corroborate your Tao after 10,000 years. Many years ago, I subdued 9 types of heavenly flames just in case." Completely shocked, Longao knew very well what 9 types of heavenly flames meant. In the entire chaotic realm, there were only 23 types of heavenly flames. He had already obtained 4 of them, and the first was the primal chaos flame, the second was the heavenly devil flame, and the third was the hell flame. The heavenly devil flame had already obtained 9 types of heavenly flames. If he could obtain 9 types of heavenly flames, wouldn't it mean that he would have 13 types of heavenly flames? What kind of concept was that? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't excited. Where is it? Heavenly Flame Region. Heavenly Flame Region? Of course, Longao didn't know where the Heavenly Flame Region was. No matter where it was, even if he had to climb a mountain of blades or dive into a sea of flames, he had to go. If he could obtain 9 types of heavenly flames, his chances of corroborating his Tao would be much higher. 23 types of exotic flames. Every single exotic flame was an incomparably heaven-defying existence. Under normal circumstances, if someone was able to obtain one of these exotic flames, it would already be a great opportunity. No one had ever been able to obtain more than 2 types of exotic flames, let alone 13. After leaving the Dragon Clan, the Heavenly Devil Flame and Longao didn't hesitate. They immediately headed towards the so-called Heavenly Flame region. The Devil Palace's forces spread out as much as possible. However, how could the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance agree to it? They began to intercept the Devil Palace. Everyone was clear that if they didn't intercept them in time, once the Devil Palace spread out their forces, it would be too late for the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance to take action after killing Longao. If it was before, the Devil Palace would definitely choose other methods if they were intercepted by the 2 superforces. However, with the old ancestor personally overseeing the situation, Mo Wufeng didn't dare to be careless. This time, the Devil Palace's attitude was very firm and unyielding. Even if the other party was the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance, they would still forcefully expand. This had thoroughly shaken the entire chaotic realm. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.